to look over their cameras for any evidence. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden expected to declare a new national monument near the Grand Canyon today to protect tribal lands from mining and conserve the lands and waters there. White House climate advisor Ali Zaidi says President Biden will call for the designation during his visit to northern Arizona today. Utah State University has found its new athletic director. The school has hired Diana Sabo, who was most recently working as the Deputy Commissioner and Chief Sports Officer for the Big Ten Conference. She'll officially take the reins coming up in 2 weeks. Right now, the markets are really taking it on the chops here. The Dow is off 415 points. That's 1.1%. The S&P down 53, about the same percentage. But the NASDAQ tech stocks are down 1.5%, down 221 this hour. Coming up a bit warmer today than usual. We'll check your full forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
This summer, the political season heats up.
By August, it'll be time for debates. Can you believe it?
We're planning coverage of the real issues, the important stories that impact how we live.
Listen each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and when my wife Dee and I moved into our new home a few years back, would you care to guess what was one of the first purchases we made for the home?
It was a water softener, Doug.
That's right, but not just any water softener. The fact is, Dee and I, just won't settle for anything less than Kinetico. For one thing, Kinetico softeners are so well designed, they use 2/3 less salt than other softeners. And I tell you, my back really appreciates carrying in just one bag of salt compared to 3 that my neighbors are carrying in. For another, Kinetico's all-mechanical design never needs adjustment, even if the power goes out or some household water use changes. In fact, it's virtually maintenance-free, meaning there are no annoying knobs to fiddle with. You really should look into the water softener from Kinetico. To learn more, call Kinetico of Utah at 801-576-8600 or go to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
Hey guys, are you over 30? Let's talk about testosterone and performance. Your testosterone can decline at an average of 1 to 2% a year after you turn 30. And Revive Men's Health have been experts at treating men with low testosterone and ED since 2011. We're the clinic guys come to when their current treatment isn't working. They have a complicated medical condition, or they're just not happy with their performance. We love what we do and the patients we care for. You can ask our patients. We did, and we have a 99% patient satisfaction rate this year. Our patients even tell us we're more affordable than their insurance deductibles and copays. Let's get to the bottom of your issues and fix them. That's what we do, and we do it really well. Book your T-check and exam today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or send us a private message at revivemenshealth.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Andy.
Tim, still have slowdowns I-15, Bangerter Highway up into Sandy. That's left over from an earlier crash that's up by the 90th South exit. We've got some northbound delays going Kaysville up into Layton because of a crash now on the freeway. They cleared a crash downtown that's really helped traffic around 1300 South improve. And I don't see a lot of other city street slowdowns right now other than Mountain View about 3500 South that should cost you any extra time. Start your dream kitchen or bath today at Bedrock Quartz, where it's only 7 days from template to installation. Visit the new Spanish Fork showroom or bedrockquartz.com. That's bedrockquartz.com. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
We had one round of just light showers this morning, and it looks like we're clear for the middle part of the day, and then about a 15% chance to settle in this afternoon with more clouds. Right now in Salt Lake City, on our way to the high of 82, it's 69 degrees. At KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We're trying right now, Dave, to pull up a live stream of the Utah Supreme Court. There is no live stream? Okay, there's no live stream. We do have reporters, however, covering that case today that's going to be argued. In fact, argument should be underway right now regarding Utah's abortion trigger law at the Utah Supreme Court.
It is surprising to me how long it has taken for the Supreme Court to listen to this. The trigger ban has been kind of sitting in the wings since, I think, 2020. So what has taken so long and what will be the result, how quickly we will hear their verdict, we'll just keep following it. It's 9:06. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
At 9:35, we are going to take an in-depth look at a problem that has been plaguing Utah schools for years: teacher shortages. In 1 year, Utah fell about 1,200 teachers short when replacing teachers that either had left or had retired. Part of this is certainly retirements, right? Other is there's teacher burnout going on, folks.
Seriously, my summer is me sleeping and trying to recuperate enough to go back next year.
To go do another 9 months, Denise.
It is. I have to go back on Friday, and I'm like almost in tears.
Almost in tears.
Was that from a phone call?
Yeah, I
from
talked
a
to a
listener?
teacher,
Oh, wow.
and she was just absolute. She talked about how she had to go to a therapist. She talked about her therapist as if he's her best friend to try to get her through. And this is a teacher that has been in the business for 2 decades.
Countdown. 2.
President Joe Biden coming to Utah this week, where he will honor the 1-year anniversary of what's called the PACT Act. We are going to take an in-depth look at the PACT Act, what it offers our veterans, the diseases it covers, and there is a critical deadline that I found out about today, Dave, just this morning, to apply for back benefits. And we're going to get you that information in the 10 o'clock hour. Now, it's estimated that almost 90% of veterans who served in Afghanistan or Iraq were exposed to burn pits, and that's what this act is all about. Many, like Staff Sergeant Wesley Black, have died of cancer. He died of cancer, leaving behind this message to surviving veterans.
It's too late for me, but it's not too late for the next veteran that walks down the hall of the VA. We have a chance right now to get ahead of that ball. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
And if you're wondering what these burn pits were, we've had veterans explain them to us, but when they were serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, you're in the middle of the desert and you have a bunch of garbage, and they would create these huge pits and they would just burn this garbage. Oftentimes they would use jet fuel or diesel fuel, something that burns very hot, and these burn pits have been found to cause cancer in many people.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
Well, it's just after 9 a.m., and that means the Utah Supreme Court is set to hear arguments right now in Utah's abortion ban law. There are specifics here that we are going to talk about, but the law has been on hold for more than a year because a Utah judge put a pause on it. We're going to remind you what the law says about abortions. Also get into legal analysis to ask if there's an argument 1 year later to keep Utah's restrictive abortion law on pause.
And what is so important about this is the United States Supreme Court, they overturned Roe versus Wade and put the abortion discussion really in the hands of the states. So every state can handle abortion as they choose. Utah had chosen essentially to ban abortions except for some very, very specific cases, and that state law has never taken effect, even though it was supposed to take effect as soon as Roe versus Wade was, or if it was ever going to be, overturned. It's just taken well over a year for this to even happen. Hopefully the Utah Supreme Court can settle this.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
There's a spoiler alert, though. I don't think this will be settled today, Dave.
Rarely is.
Yeah. There's some legalese involved, admittedly. I think this is a difficult one to follow, at least for me, but here we are. Arguments happening right now at the Utah Supreme Court. Now, let's back up a little bit. There's a preliminary injunction in place, and what is being argued today is this question. Should the pause of Utah's abortion law stay in place while a lawsuit winds through the courts, and that lawsuit calls into question the constitutionality of Utah's, and I'll call it a restrictive abortion law?
Yeah, the Supreme Court of the United States was very clear. They said abortion decisions belong to the state. It does not belong to the federal government. But we have seen this, and it has happened across the country. This is a very common story that once states pass laws, either, largely restricting abortion access, then it gets challenged in the court. And now the state Supreme Courts will have to narrowly define or determine what that law means or what is constitutional.
My understanding is today's argument at the Utah Supreme Court will help Utah justices rule as to whether Utah's abortion law can take effect, while this lawsuit questioning its constitutionality is waiting for a ruling. KSL News Radio's Lindsay Aerts, thankfully, steps in to help walk us through it.
This law bans all abortions in Utah except for in cases of rape, incest, the life of the mother, and if the fetus has what's called a uniformly fatal abnormality. And so what the Supreme Court is deciding, they're not deciding the constitutionality of the trigger law. They're deciding whether or not an injunction should stay in place. So a judge has put this law and others on hold, and the Supreme Court will decide whether or not that hold continues.
And the injunction is just a pause, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they're trying to figure out if they can continue the pause.
Does this feel like this is the law that keeps getting debated?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
But I don't know what we're debating. That's the most frustrating part for me, Debbie, is I still don't understand exactly what we're debating. They're listening on whether or not they can continue this injunction and continue the pause, but where's the resolution?
Like, when does the law take effect? If it does at all, once the lawsuit is finalized, once the lawsuit winds its way through court and gets either, I don't know, does it just get a hearing from a judge? Does it get a full court presentation in front of a jury? We're going to ask KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas that question. I just want to back up a little bit. He's going to call in just a few minutes. Before he does, I feel like this is the law that keeps getting debated. And you got to go back to 2020 when Utah lawmakers approved this ban on abortion with very narrow exceptions, which Lindsay just explained. Okay, so they approved that law. They passed that law in 2020. But then they have to wait for the Supreme Court of the United States to rule on abortion rights. So then a couple of years later, the Supreme Court of the United States rules the Constitution does not protect the right to an abortion, right? They overturn Roe v. Wade, which then left abortion laws up to each state. Well, Utah's trigger law, bam, goes into effect right away. And then bam, right away, there's an injunction putting a pause on it because it's being challenged as being unconstitutional. Does that all make sense? Is it clear as mud?
Except I still don't know what the law is or what the challenge is. Again, we keep talking about the injunction. Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, is going to join us next.
That's why we have him.
Thank you, Greg. And hopefully you can clear this up for us.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
The race to replace Representative Chris Stewart is now a sprint to the September 5th primary.
Celeste Malloy is the Republican convention winner.
Also, Becky Edwards and Bruce Huff.
Come here for interviews with the nominees and details on upcoming debates. The race to replace. Tune in mornings and afternoons this week on KSL News Radio.
Hey,
Derek Overstreet here from the New Millennium Group, financial advisors in Utah. You know, I've been helping people retire in the state of Utah for the last 20 years. The way we do that is we actually find out what is important to you. We create a step-by-step plan that takes into consideration your income, your debt, whether you want money from real estate, stock market, annuities, life insurance, whatever. If you want to deal with professionals, people that are fiduciaries and have a legal responsibility and obligation to do what's in your best interest, give my team a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Or go to my website, utahsfinancialplanner.com. If you'd like to retire 3 to 5 years before you thought it was possible, give my team a call right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Today only, Zero Res is opening up their $25 special. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and you'll pay just $25 per room. There is nothing better than being out and about with a family, except maybe coming home to a clean and residue-free home. The Zero Res cleaning process has been proven to remove more dirt, more dust, and more allergens than the other guys. Plus, the no residue cleaning means your carpets will stay cleaner longer. Today only, schedule your Zero Res carpet cleaning and pay just $25 per room cleaned. Full room minimum, but there are no maximums. So yes, even really big families with big homes, this one's for you too. Carpet cleaning for just $25 per room. Only a Zero Res carpet and air duct cleaning. I'm sure it's been on your mind. Schedule today and save money while you're at it. The sale ends today. Nephi to Ogden. Everyone can schedule online at zerorez.com. ZEROREZ.com.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive
With
dad.
the three things you need to know this hour,
All I
I'm
had to
Tim
say
Hughes.
was-
First, the historic Trinity African Methodist Episcopal Church in downtown Salt Lake was vandalized twice over the last couple of weeks. Second, President Biden will declare a new national monument near the Grand Canyon before coming here to Utah. And third, Utah State University's new athletic director, Diana Sabo, will take the reins in 2 weeks. We'll shoot for a high today with continued clouds through the afternoon of 82 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City at 66. Now back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
There has been a long pause, I think it's more than a year now, of Utah's new abortion law. It would restrict abortions unless under, certain criteria are met, such as the life of the mother is at stake, there's been a rape, there's been incest involved. So we're going to get with KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas in just a moment to clear up some questions that both Dave and I have about today's hearing at the Utah Supreme Court.
Yes, because the Supreme Court of the United States was clear. In regards to abortion, laws, restrictions, or protections, they lie with the state. State laws are made by the state legislature, and Utah's state legislature passed a law that a judge has prohibited or stopped it from taking effect.
But we have an avenue, right, for things like injunctions and lawsuits, and that's the courts. And that's what ended up happening is that abortion rights advocates went to court and said, wait a minute, before this law takes effect, we need a pause on this law because of its sweeping impact on so many women right away. And the judge granted that pause. But that was a year ago. It's been a year now, so I'm not sure if there is an argument to be had. And Greg, good thing you're joining the conversation now. Is there an argument to be had that the Utah Supreme Court would take seriously to suggest that a year later that Utah's abortion law needs to remain on pause?
Well, that's actually the argument that's being made right this second, and I'm watching the arguments, and we're watching the argument from the attorney representing the state right now, indicating or arguing rather that the stay shouldn't go into effect, that the preliminary injunction is not proper and appropriate, and that Utah's laws, the trigger law, the law that changed the rules of civil procedure as it relates to preliminary injunction, and the new what we call the clinic ban laws should in fact go into place while this lawsuit is pending. And the whole idea that we're arguing before the Supreme Court is what to do with these laws while the lawsuit is pending, whether they should be stayed, whether they should remain in preliminary injunction, or whether they should go into effect.
So in Utah, the latest numbers that I found, there was roughly 2,300 abortions performed in Utah, at least in 2020. It's not extremely common, but it's not uncommon at the same time. What has been the status of abortions and access to abortions in Utah during this time?
So that's a great question, and one that people really don't understand. There is a current law in effect that we call the 18-week law, and it's the current Utah law that both sides have sort of agreed is the law. While these issues are being argued, the legislature obviously wants to shorten that much more, and Planned Parenthood wants to extend it, but it's sort of a compromise law that's in effect right now. That's different than what would have been in 2020 because, of course, Dave, we had Roe versus Wade then. We didn't need a state law. Now we do. That's the temporary law while we sort out these issues regarding the trigger ban and the clinic law.
Okay, so let me see if I got this straight. What is being argued today before the Utah Supreme Court is whether the pause should stay in place on Utah's newer abortion law, which would have taken effect last year and would have restricted abortions unless there was rape, incest, or the life of the mother, for example, were at stake. That's what's being discussed today by at the Utah Supreme Court as to whether that pause remains in place. I want to go back, though, to Dave's question from earlier. And the original lawsuit that was filed questioned the constitutionality of this new Utah law, correct?
Correct. Under Utah's constitution, because Dobbs' decision affirmatively held that under the federal constitution, there is no longer a right for a woman to have that procedure. Roe versus Wade is flipped over. Roe versus Wade gave women the federal constitutional right to have the procedure. Now we're looking at whether or not, and this argument actually happening in every state, Debbie, whether individual state laws provide for that right. And we're drilling down on Utah's at this very minute.
And is there something in the Constitution, in the Utah Constitution, Greg, that's caught your eye that could weigh on, in favor of abortion rights advocates?
There really is, because when the framers of the Utah Constitution came and started enacting their laws, they were understandably afraid of government overreach. They were protective of people's rights to do what they want, and that right could arguably include the right to determine what you do with your own body. So Utah really wanted to have more freedom from government overreach. They really wanted to have a constitutional right for the people to make decisions on their own. That was part of what our pioneer spirit was all about. And that's ironically what's really being argued today.
But Greg, in that Constitution that was written, it does not reference abortion directly, correct?
Not at all. It doesn't reference a lot of things, and neither does the federal Constitution anyway. And so we have to look at these constitutional provisions and say, okay, what rights does it give, and does that include the right to an abortion?
And that will be determined by the Utah Supreme Court.
Yes, ultimately, Utah's Constitution will be determined by the Utah Supreme Court. The federal constitutional right has been decided. The Dobbs decision is there, and for who knows how long it'll be there. Roe was on the books for about 60 years. Dobbs is the current law. I don't see that changing, so it's going to be up to individual states to decide what rights their citizens have with respect to abortion.
This is probably a loaded question because I know you don't own a crystal ball, but what do you think in terms of a decision from the Utah Supreme Court? When will that happen on this pause issue?
Well, that's got to happen fairly quickly, Debbie, because a lawsuit's on hold. And what do we do with the laws while the hold is in place? So I think the Supreme Court's going to weigh into that pretty soon. By soon, I guess that's a relative term. Probably within the next 30 to 60, maybe 90 days, we'll know whether or not the laws will go into effect while the lawsuit is pending involving the constitutionality of those laws.
Greg, was there something about the way the law was written or the trigger law aspect of it that has complicated these things, or is it just the law, the text in the law itself that is being challenged?
It's really the law itself, and that is who makes these decisions, Dave? Who ultimately decides what a person can do with their body? Is that something the legislature can decide, or is that something that we really want individuals to decide on their own in the state of Utah? So the law would have been challenged probably no matter what it said. There wasn't anything specific about the trigger ban. We know that it was a very, very far-reaching law. I mean, Debbie, or one of you said at the very beginning of this segment that it really restricted abortion except in very, very limited circumstances. So,
well, it eliminates elective abortions. I mean, right? I mean, there's no avenue for a woman who wants to seek an elective abortion in the state of Utah, if this law took effect, to go get one. She would have to prove rape. She would have to prove incest. She would have to somehow get doctors to sign off or go see a doctor that they would sign off that her life was at risk. I mean, so elective abortions would, in my view, read of the law, be banned.
Absolutely. And she would also have had to have, under most circumstances, reported the rape or the incest to law enforcement and be willing to pursue a criminal prosecution. So it was a very difficult hurdle for a woman to overcome in order to get this procedure. And you're right, it's as close to a total abortion ban as you could imagine. And I think that's what the legislature intended. That's exactly what they wanted to do, was take it as far as they could and then see how they would hold up under Utah constitutional argument.
We're going to have to invite you back in the show, Greg, because I want to ask, is there a possibility that the justices could carve out part of this law to say, look, forcing a woman to go report a case of rape to law enforcement, be willing to sit on a witness stand to testify? That's a big question mark for me. I'm just wondering if there's a possibility. And don't answer it now. Just be available to us if you don't mind before the noon hour to come back and rejoin us as you continue to listen to those arguments in front of the Utah Supreme Court this morning.
Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Much more coverage on the case right now that's being argued before the Utah Supreme Court. Should the pause on Utah's abortion ban law be lifted? We'll continue to follow it throughout the morning and throughout the day right here at KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time now is 9:30. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories this hour. We begin with KSL in the classroom. Utah health officials are keeping an eye on COVID case counts as kids get ready for back to school. Southeastern Utah Health Department Officer Brady Bradford says there's not they're not too worried, as COVID appears to be behaving like most other seasonal illnesses in our schools now, so he doesn't expect a return to restrictions.
It would take a pretty significant event for that to happen now.
But he points out with the onset of the school year, COVID will spread more rapidly, along with colds, RSV, and the flu. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: while actors and screenwriters protest on its streets, Los Angeles faces another mass strike from city workers today, and it may grind the city operations to a halt for at least 24 hours. We get more from ABC's Matt Gutman.
These are 11,000 Los Angeles city workers, so people who work in sanitation, mechanics, the people who work on buses, traffic officers, engineers, people who work at LAX, the international airport, one of the busiest in the world. So this is a one-day, 24-hour strike beginning today at 4 a.m. at LAX, with multiple different locations set to hit throughout the day.
A group representing nearly 100,000 workers say that members voted to authorize the strike after repeated labor law violations. Other national stories we're following this hour: police arrested a 17-year-old boy for making terroristic threats against a public school. Nathan James Cruz is the cousin of the gunman responsible for the Uvalde, Texas school shooting in 2022. Cruz's family reported that he planned to do the same thing as his cousin. Cruz denied making any threats upon his arrest, but his charges carry a $160,000 bond. Your money at this moment, tough day, but at least it's not as bad as it looked like earlier. The Dow's still down almost 350 points, just under 1%. The S&P is down 1%, represented by a 46-point loss, and the Nasdaq down this hour by 1.4%, or 190. Coming up, we've already had a few sprinkles this morning, but there's a continued chance of rain this afternoon after a break during the midday. We'll check the forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Eileen talks about her experience with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
A lot of gross kitchen in the beginning, cracked formica, bad floor, ripped linoleum, and I decided to heck with this. I want it done. And I found an ad from 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. I called him. Dave brought all of his stuff. We talked about what I wanted. I chose the materials. It was very easy. He came in, he did what he said. They did it in the time frame that they said, at the cost that they said. His crew was delightful. We came home, everything had been cleaned up. I would say people are silly not to do 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. I just love it. It's just like I moved into a new home.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Smart, connected, modern. Discover life-enhancing independent living services at Trio Orem. Joy isn't just for the young, it's for the young at heart. Trio's signature programs provide a unique approach to wellness, bringing living well and well-being to life. Trio is reimagining retirement to deliver delight in every detail. To learn more, contact Trio Orem at 801-434-8000 or visit treeorem.com.
Tim and Amanda.
You know, we've been doing this, 30 years, Tim? We know that the news can be heavy. We know that it can be difficult sometimes to listen to or understand. But that doesn't mean that we're supposed to live in that down place every day. We learn the news, we're educated so we can take care of our families. But then, you know what? We go out and have a good day.
Well, I think both of us come from the standpoint, and we have families. We have kids that are coming up different ages. Yours are younger than mine. Mine are grown adults. But we always try and look for the bright side, I think, because we all want to have that in our lives.
And it's there. There is a bright side.
There is a bright side out there, and so we look for those opportunities each day to hopefully send that message to you, even if it's not directly, in words, that at least in sentiment, things are going to be okay.
Do you know what I like to tell people? The news is the exception, not the rule. So if there's violence in the news, that's the exception. The rule is most of us are safe and happy and doing okay.
Amen.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificates. Heather Kelly's in the traffic center.
And we've got a new crash northbound I-15 just before Beck Street in North Salt Lake. It had been blocking a left lane, but they got all the cars moved over to the right side of the freeway. That has caused nearly stopped traffic all the way back to 600 North. But now most of the lanes are open. That should hopefully improve. And then if you're southbound I-15 in Davis County, you have some unusual stop-and-go traffic between Antelope Drive and Hillfield Road. Haven't heard of a crash there, but there may be lane restrictions due to construction. When it comes to trusted, affordable auto care, nobody does it better than Burt Brothers Tire and Service. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
So we'll look for 82 degrees for a high today. Does look like we get the break-in showers until about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and then about a 15% chance to linger throughout the day. We'll jump from 82 to 92 degrees for most of the next 7 days, with rain coming again Friday, Saturday, and a repeat performance on Monday. Right now in Salt Lake City, let me just refresh here, 72 degrees downtown at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
KSL in the classroom. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
I'm going to help you cheat on a pop quiz question. Is there a teacher shortage in Utah? Yes is the answer. And this is in spite of increased funding and teacher pay raises. Utah is really struggling to fill teaching positions as the school year is just quickly approaching.
And the reason we're talking about this is because our friend Amanda Dixon wrote an incredible article, very detailed, on why Utah has been struggling. This is not a new thing for Utah. Utah, for a number of years, has been struggling to fill teaching positions, in part because we're losing somewhere between 40 and 50% of our teachers here in Utah in the first 5 years of teaching. So what is it? Is it pay? Is it discipline? Is it curriculum? What is causing teachers in Utah to retire, and why aren't people excited to be teachers today?
Amanda Dixon, good morning.
Good morning.
You hear her every morning right here on Utah's Morning News. You also do an excellent job writing, researching, posting articles to KSLNewsRadio.com. And this is where I came across this article that was posted there. What did you find about why we're experiencing a teacher shortage?
I was so intrigued by this. I spoke with the head of the UEA, Renee Pinkney, and she said that part of the reason, and maybe the biggest part, of why we're losing new teachers is because many of these teachers are coming to the classroom through a different pathway than the traditional. The traditional pathway was you study in your subject and then you study how to be an educator. You get the skills necessary to teach you how to teach. But now you can take that English or history or math major and go straight to the classroom. It's an alternate pathway which allows you to go straight into the classroom. Those teachers do not have the training that the traditional teachers do. And so they wind up being more frustrated depending on the experienced teachers around them. It puts stress on the school. And so, yeah, that's a big part of the one thing I learned from substitute teaching is that knowing history does not teach me how to teach history. Knowing English does not teach me how to teach English. That's a separate skill.
Yeah, I had a co-host, Debbie, when you were off yesterday, Leah Murray, who's a teacher on the college level, and she said, I have a PhD, and the first time I ever got any training was day one of the job in college. That was the first time she had ever been trained. And again, she's like, oh, and those were college kids. What is it like when it's a kindergartner or a first grader or second grader that's having a temper tantrum because they're immature and young? That's a real hurdle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just from my personal experience, I was shocked at some of the behaviors that I experienced, not just in middle school where you might expect the challenges, but in elementary school. And what I learned from teachers was that those behaviors got significantly worse during and post-pandemic.
In fact, you spoke with Renee Pinkney, which you mentioned. She is president of the Utah Education Association. It is the largest teachers union in Utah, so they have insight on what teachers are thinking, how they're feeling, what they're dealing with in the classrooms. And here's what she said about student behavior.
A lot of it comes from, what we saw during the pandemic, where we had parents and other community members who were really treating not only our teachers, but school board members and other politicians so disrespectfully.
And then yesterday, when we were having this similar discussion, we spoke to a teacher in Salt Lake County. Her name's Denise. She also said that student behavior on her has been a drain.
I know, especially since COVID, the kids and the parents are just mentally exhausting. Kids' behavior and the parents' reaction to their behavior, a lot of it is the pressure of parents expecting us to teach social skills now as well. Kids coming in not knowing how to get along with other kids and share and take turns and having temper tantrums in classes. It takes away from the teaching.
And also, Amanda, again, you have a unique perspective, having been a substitute teacher, but the ability to discipline the children, not just their behavior, but how to balance this where you're firm but not harsh, and there's a fine line to balance there.
I was really surprised at the lack of respect for teachers. And of course, where do the kids learn that? Has to be at home. Where else could they learn? Whether or not they respect their teacher is something that they're taught from the time they're very small. And I'd have some, now not all kids, certainly I had a lot of great kids too, but I had more kids than I anticipated having who just could have cared less what I had to say on anything. They'd already made up their minds in 4th grade. They'd already made up their minds on any number of topics, including the way they should behave.
Talking to Amanda Dixon, of course, you hear her every morning on KSL News Radio. She's the host of Utah's Morning News. About her article at KSLNewsRadio.com about the shortage of teachers and trying to dive into reasons as to why we're experiencing. One of them is behavior. What were they doing? Were they just talking to their friends? Were they passing notes? I mean, what would you see kids doing?
Disrespect for the teacher?
Yeah, refusing to work. So everybody's doing their work, and a kid just won't. Closes the book, slams it closed. Gets up and leaves the classroom without asking to leave in elementary school. Talks
so you
to other
don't know where
kids,
they're going.
Don't know where they're going.
Yikes.
And then multiple kids would leave. And then now suddenly you've got an issue where I've got 18 kids in the class and I know 2 are gone and I don't know where they are. So or refusing to leave with me. I'd want to go. We're leaving here. We're going to art or we're going to computer lab. And one would say, no, I'm not going. Well, you have to go. You could stay home from school or you can come to school and do what we do at school because I can't stay with you in this classroom and have all the other students go separately. It was just like a bull. It was very challenging.
Another complaint I heard, again, from a teacher, Denise, who's been teaching for 20 years. She teaches the younger grades, I think primarily in 1st grade. She said there was an enormous amount of testing.
Oh, yeah.
They want us to do more testing. They want us to do more without resources to do it. A lot of kindergarten and 1st grade are one-on-one testing, and they want me to do that while I still have 25 other kids in the classroom. And it's hard to try to fit that testing in and teach my students and to reach that success. I felt like all I do is test. I don't have the fun of teaching anymore.
I have a unique perspective on this because my wife is a teaching aide, and she actually is in charge of doing the testing, which allows the teacher to continue instructing the kids. But if she wasn't there, it would absolutely fall on the teacher. I have no idea how she would do it because that teaching is very much one-on-one communicating with the kids.
Plus, all that testing takes the kids out of the classroom. Yeah. And once you get behind, sometimes kids will start to give up. They'll just think, well, I'm already behind. Now I'm behind more. Now I'm going to be behind even more than that. And so it takes them out of the classroom and it throws off the pace of instruction.
Is there a solution to our teacher shortage, or do you see this through your research continuing to be an issue?
We are back to pre-pandemic levels now. It's still a shortage, but we've made progress. We're moving in the right direction. And I think they've loosened some of these pathways to teaching for the purpose of addressing the teacher shortage. The problem is that then they're running into these enormous frustrations as a result of not being trained. I don't know, Debbie. I don't have any idea how to get there.
We're going to count on you to work on that
I will.
solution.
I'm going to work on it. I'll keep talking to people. I'll let you know.
Well, we always appreciate all you do here at KSL News Radio to keep our listeners informed. Great article, Amanda Dixon. You can catch that at kslnewsradio.com. Dave, do you have any solutions off the top? I mean, this is one of those conversations that's just hard to come up with here's the solution in a nutshell.
Yeah, I talked again to another teacher who said pay and better resources are the two things he would want to focus on. But there are so many things to this. It's very easy to say, I'll just throw more money at the problem. Fund education, pay teachers more. But I think there's more to it than that. But there's a short-term problem and a long-term problem. We're discussing a long-term problem of how do we get more teachers into the system. Well, what about this year? If you have a shortage of teachers, what do you do this year? What's the solution? And it might be substitute teachers, short-term or long-term.
Let's talk about that. Is there a need for substitute teachers? And come on, let's face it, what we all want to know. How much are you going to pay me to substitute?
Dave and Dujanovic.
Before Dave and Debbie get started each day, this station is all news all morning.
And later today, we follow up on those stories as you drive home.
Get important news all morning and all afternoon.
Here on KSL News Radio.
Is shopping for medical supplies online leaving you feeling intimidated and overwhelmed? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I want to share a real customer story with you.
The moment I walked into Alpine, I felt cared for. They pulled me into a private room, and the Alpine professional happily set up my CPAP machine, explaining everything I needed to know. The service didn't stop there. After I went home, Alpine called me a week later just to check on me. These guys really are the experts. Before Alpine, I was so stressed trying to navigate what I needed online by myself, but all the stress went away when I went to their store. They really do deserve 5 stars.
We know when you walk through our doors, you deserve to be cared for. Stop by any of our 11 locations and discover the Alpine Home Medical difference. When you need assistance, we're here for you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
AlpineHomeMedical.com.
Hello?
Hi, I'm
Mr. Sparky.
What gave it away? The fancy tool belt? How about the big red truck?
Actually,
Yes.
you're on time.
That's our motto. We're on time. You'll see her. The repair is free.
You rhymed. That's cute. Are you always available?
24/7.
24/7.
I don't sleep much. So what seems to be the problem?
Well, my toddler plugged the dog into the light socket.
Yeah, I see your house is blinking like a pinball machine.
Can you fix it?
The house or the dog?
The house.
Well, I'm Mr. Sparky. If it's electrical, I
You
can
can
fix
fix it.
You betcha.
From a small electrical problem to new lights to smart home services, generators to whole house surge protection, and everything electrical in between. Call America's on-time electrician. Mr. Sparky is fully licensed to install or repair any electrical work. Just call 888-8-SPARKY.
Hold on, this is where we bring in the singers.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Hunting season is right around the corner, and Sportsman's Warehouse has everything you need for the best hunt ever. Right now, you'll find great low prices on rifles, shotguns, bows, arrows, and ammo. Save 20 to 30% on camo from Element, Killick, King's Camo, and Rustic Ridge. Plus, save up to $200 on scopes and optics from Sig Sauer, Loophole, and Vortex. And you can register to win an elk hunt of a lifetime. So gear up for unforgettable and bring on the hunt at Sportsman's Warehouse.
Here's something you've never heard before.
Stop. This is Simply Safe.
Introducing 24/7 Lifeguard Protection, only from Simply Safe Home Security. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplysafe.com/radio. Advanced Home Security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistent scent, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, as school gets started again, health officials are keeping an eye on COVID case counts. Second, Los Angeles city workers join Hollywood actors and writers on strike for the next 24 hours. And third, police have arrested the cousin of the gunman of the Uvalde school shooting for threatening to do the same thing to another school. We'll shoot for a high today of 82 degrees. We've got 10 to get there. It's 72 in Salt Lake City. As we get you back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
KSL in the classroom. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
After our very own Amanda Dixon took an in-depth look at the teacher shortage in Utah, which we are still experiencing, we also wanted to chat with Envision Utah, which you did yesterday, Dave, on the show while I called in sick. No, I didn't call in sick.
You got the day off. Everyone's entitled to that.
I took a sick of work day. I mean, okay, technically it's called a vacation day. Envision Utah did some extensive research on schools and teachers here in Utah and found between the number of teachers leaving and the number of teachers graduating college, there is a gap.
In 1 year, 2,400 new teachers graduated from college. But more than 3,000 teachers retired or quit. Plus, our student population grew. By the start of the next year, those 2,400 new teachers were still about 1,200 shy of what we needed. And that's just 1 year.
That final line was powerful. 1,200 teachers short, and that's just 1 year. You stack that on a few years in a row, now you're 5,000, 6,000 teachers short. And the fix isn't quick. If you're filling these spots with new college graduates, it will take years to prepare them for teaching. Your best hope, though, is to get teachers that are already certified to come back to teaching. Because, again, we've learned that nearly half, 40 to 50% of teachers leave the profession in the first 5 years. They're certified, they know how to do the job, they chose to leave.
Because they hate it. Like, okay, that's
or start a family. I mean, there's a million reasons.
There's a million reasons. I think a large part is because they can't, it's just, you heard from Amanda Dixon, the behavioral issues that she experienced as a substitute teacher were just off the charts, problematic. She had two kids, sometimes that were just wandered out of the classroom. Well, imagine the liability that a teacher who's in the classroom every day would face if something terrible were to happen to those children. They may be starting a family. I always thought, wow, that'd be a great profession to have if you did have a family, because you could teach in your children's school potentially. You could have the same hours. You could have summers off. I don't know how you could get into the classroom as a teacher and deal with some of these behavioral issues. That would be the reason I would leave the profession, not because I started a family. I mean, I worked, but I didn't work in teaching. So what's the alternative here? Is it substitute teaching?
Well, yeah, and that again, there's the long-term solution that we've been talking about, but the short-term solution is school starts in 2 weeks. What happens if you don't have enough spots? Can you fill it with substitutes? Did you know that there is a long-term substitute and what role they play? Yeah. So Sandy Riesgraff joins us right now from the Jordan School District. Sandy, thank you. As we talk about substitutes, number one, is there a greater need for substitutes right now? Is there a shortage, just like in, full-time teachers?
Well, Dave and Debbie, first of all, thanks for having me. I want to start by saying we're really excited in Jordan because this Friday, we're having a big welcome ceremony for 460 new teachers. That's almost unheard of, almost a record number in recent history for Jordan School District. So we aren't experiencing that teacher shortage here. 460 new teachers is probably the biggest class of new teachers that we've ever had. And they're coming from the state of Utah, from all over the country, even 5 or so from outside of the country. So we're really blessed, and we're so excited to welcome them. And they are teachers that are really excited and looking forward to coming and working here. We were in tough shape as far as substitute teachers a few years ago, but that seems to be turning around as well. We need in Jordan, we've got 58,000 students. We need on average 200 to 300 substitute teachers per day. So if we have a pool that's less than 700 or 800, then we get a little bit worried. But we're right about there right now.
Sandy Riesgraf of the Jordan School District on the line with us live. Jordan District covers sort of the south end of Salt Lake County, maybe the southwest end of Salt Lake County, 58,000 kids. And so, substitute teaching, Sandy, would be more my cup of tea because I wouldn't have to be responsible for all those kiddos all day long, every day. But I could sort of dabble in it and make a little extra money on the side. Not that I'm just in it for me, but what's the pay? While we're speaking of pay, what's the pay for a sub?
Well, you're in a sense your own boss because you choose the days that you want to work when you want to sub, and you can even choose whether you want to work in the elementary school level or if you feel better with secondary, middle school, or high school.
I'd be right in sixth grade. Sixth grade would be totally for me. So how much can I make in sixth grade?
Those kiddos can be a lot of fun. Yeah. So the pay for the average substitute teacher in Jordan School District is anywhere from $124 to $179 a day. That depends on your level of education. We do ask that you have an associate's degree. There are a few exceptions to that, but gosh, it's a great way to find out if the classroom is really where you want to be. And these kids, I'm telling you, every time I ask someone why they're in the classroom, the number one answer is because they just enjoy being with the students and those relationships that they develop, even as a substitute teacher. And as Dave said earlier, we have some opportunities for long-term subs as well.
What does a long-term sub do?
Well, for example, if someone were out on maternity leave and needed a classroom covered for an extended period of time, or for any reason that they had to be out for an extended period of time, it's nice to have that consistency in the classroom with someone that the students become familiar with and who gets to know the students. I know in one of our high schools I talked to a long-term sub, and that's all she wants to do, and she's in a classroom for weeks on end and really gets to know the students, gets to know their needs, and she just enjoys that consistency, and I think it benefits the students as well.
Sandy, before we let you go, do you require substitute teachers get through some sort of a background check to make sure that they're vetted?
Yes, they will have to do a background check, but if you want to come out and find out if it's for you, next week, the timing of this is perfect. We're having a Jordan job fair, a summer job fair, and we're hiring on the spot. If you're interested in substitute teaching, we will be prepared to interview you. We have people representing every one of our 69 schools in Jordan School District will be at that job fair. It's August 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Oker Hills Middle School, 6 to 8 p.m. at Oker Hills Middle School. That's Wednesday, August 16th. And again, if you're interested in substitute teaching, if you're interested in, we do need to fill some positions in our special education department right now. Bus drivers in their school cafeterias, which are really fun places to be. So, bring your portfolio, come ready for an interview, and we'd love to have you join our team.
Sandy Riesgraf, thank you for joining us from the Jordan School District.
Didn't you apply to be a substitute teacher in the Davis District?
Yeah, and then I kept checking back, and they're like, "Yeah, we've closed all that." I had a very narrow window. I'm like, I could do Fridays. I think they're thinking, you know what, we're going to need a little more flexibility than that.
At the top of our 10 o'clock hour, President Biden coming to Utah this week, in part to honor the one-year anniversary of the PACT Act. This is very important to veterans. So if you know a veteran or you are one, join us in a few minutes.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. President Biden is landing in Utah tomorrow. His visit will focus heavily on the needs of veterans. The president plans to give a speech marking the one-year anniversary of the PACT Act, a law expanding veterans' health benefits for those exposed to toxic burn pits in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. He'll also make a stop in Park City for a campaign fundraiser. Arguments in the case over whether Utah's abortion trigger ban should stay on hold will be made to Utah's Supreme Court this morning. The law has been paused since Roe v. Wade was overturned last year. It bans all abortions except in cases of rape, incest, if the mother's life is in danger, or if the fetus has a fatal abnormality.
We know that banning abortion does not eliminate abortion. It only makes it less safe and puts pregnant people and their families at risk by forcing them to consider potentially unsafe alternatives or coercing them into carrying a pregnancy to term.
That's Planned Parenthood of Utah President Catherine Boyd, who argues the law should stay on pause. The state argues there's more of a compelling interest for all human life to let the law take effect. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Thousands of flights across most of the United States delayed and canceled yesterday due to the severe weather. More trouble could be in store today. FlightAware reports there are already more than 1,000 cancellations today. ABC's Trevor Ault is in New York.
While everyone was impacted, Delta and Southwest were hit particularly hard. Delta had 400 flight cancellations. Southwest had 1,500 flight delays. And while today could be a little bit better, the fact that we're already seeing so many cancellations does not bode well.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down sharply, 343 points on the day right now. The NASDAQ also down 210 points at this hour. And our KSL weather looks like sunshine ahead. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or disfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted, speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Boyd Matheson on the pitfalls of politics. I think the biggest thing we all have to reject is the status quo. We have to reject the kind of politics that have been served up to us and that we've bought into. The biggest question for all of us is, what are we afraid of? And often what we're afraid of is losing power. Politicians often tell us, you can vote for whoever you want, but if you vote for someone other than me, you'll lose power, you'll lose influence. And we have to reject that. Our voting right is our most sacred and fundamental right. Vote for the best person, even if they're not in either political party. Some will try to convince you that's throwing your vote away and the evil, awful other side is going to win because of that. That's what they want you to believe. Because if you're functioning out of a position of fear, we all lose. You'll vote for the status quo, and that keeps the status quo in power.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, emergency crews are on the scene of a crash northbound I-15 just before Beck Street in North Salt Lake. We've got a tow truck on the scene, and they're blocking 2 right lanes of traffic. That has traffic at a crawl and backed up to 600 North. Other than that, you've got good speeds all across the Wasatch Front, aside from some slowing due to construction on the I-215 East Belt going through Mill Creek. Did you miss the last sale? I know it's on your list, so don't miss this one. Zero Res carpet cleaning right now. It's just $25 per room, minimum supply. Discounted pricing ends today. Schedule online at zerores.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, the showers we've had this morning are keeping things cooler through the day with a high of only 82. That warms to 91 tomorrow, low 90s through the rest of the week. A chance for more thunderstorms Friday and Saturday. 72 degrees, partly cloudy right now at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
We're going to take you to Arizona in just a moment live. That's where President Biden is today. He will be arriving in Utah tomorrow. And then this week he'll be visiting, making a speech in Utah about the PACT Act. This is a really critical conversation we're going to have right now about what the PACT Act does. I actually going to have it in about 10 minutes. So if you are a veteran or you know somebody who is, there's some important information that we're going to include in our discussion in just a moment.
It doesn't happen very often that we get a visit from the sitting president of the United States. President Trump came about 6 years ago to reduce the footprint of Bears Ears and Grand Staircase, but that was the last time. So Joe Biden, again, doesn't, how do you say this? He not only visits Utah infrequently, never until right now, as president, but this area, the surrounding states, very, very infrequently does he visit Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming.
The Arizona visit is critical to him politically. He is underwater in terms of likability there. He barely won Arizona in the last election cycle. He's also there for another reason, and he is dedicating a national monument near the Grand Canyon, almost 1 million acres. Jim Cross of our sister station KTAR live on the line with us. There's so many layers to his visit in Arizona before he makes a stop in Utah here this week. Jim, let's start with the monument. What is the purpose and where is the monument?
Well, the monument is adjacent to the Grand Canyon, north and south side. It's just under 1 million acres. It includes about 300 cultural sites, and it's going to be designed to permanently end uranium mining in and around the Grand Canyon. Right now, there are no operating uranium mines up there. There's one in development. It's not up and running yet, and if this goes through, it will not be.
Is it common for a sitting president to visit Arizona? Has President Biden been a frequent flyer in Arizona?
This will be Biden's second trip to Arizona since becoming president. Of course, the former president, Donald Trump, was here repeatedly. Now, this is going to be his trip in. He'll tout his economic policies. He'll tout, the action against climate change. Of course, the national monument designation is expected a little later on this morning. But this is, more than just an economic trip. This is very likely, we're just over a year out, 14, 15 months away from the election. So this is going to be a political trip, too. And he's got some ground to make up in Arizona. He won the state in 2020. But as you guys mentioned earlier, he's pretty much underwater right now in all of the polls.
What is the pulse of the people you speak to there? Through, your reporting at KTAR Radio, Jim, regarding how they are feeling in Arizona about President Biden and his next run for the White House?
It really, honestly, it sounds cliche. It breaks down to who you talk to. I mean, there's, love for the president. There's a lot of hatred for the president. People either like him or they dislike him. And of course, it breaks down to long party lines, most of it. It remains to be seen how this is going to be taken. It's not being taken well, at least as far as the national monument designation. It's not being taken well by supervisors in Mojave County because they say the Biden administration didn't communicate the plan with them when this land will be drastically changed. One supervisor said the county is already 90% federal land, and uranium mining would, end economic benefits for the county. So this move not being received well in at least the northwestern part of the state.
That is, I think, one side of the coin with Biden's popularity, but I got to ask you about Trump's popularity. He's had a very difficult relationship with Arizona. It seemed like he had a blood feud with John McCain for a number of years, who is obviously beloved in Arizona. Has the feelings toward Trump changed in the last few years since President Biden was elected?
Well, there was a new poll that just came out this morning. It's from an outfit called Noble Predictive Insights. They're located in the Phoenix area. And 6 in 10 of the 1,000 people they surveyed across the state said that Trump is no doubt heading up the GOP, and that that he would do very well against Biden.
So 60%.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, the Board of Supervisors in that area that's going to be designated for a national monument just around the Grand Canyon, you said that they're having some serious heartburn with that designation. My read of this, Jim, is that the tribes have come together, are very concerned about the potential of continuing uranium mining in that area, and they're on board with this designation. What's your read of it?
Well, it's sacred ground of the tribes in northern Arizona, and there are people that are in favor of this. There was a new poll out this morning that said that about roughly 73%, and this is Republicans, Democrats, Independents, were in favor of stopping uranium mining up there. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not underway right now, but they don't want it, and this would end it permanently. I mean, under the Obama administration, the prohibition on uranium mining was extended until 2032. This would end it for good.
So before we let you go, Jim, and again, we're talking to Jim Cross of our sister station, KTAR News Radio in Phoenix, Arizona, about many things regarding President Biden's visit to Arizona before he heads to Utah. I just had one final question for you. There's a lot of people here in Utah who love to go to the Grand Canyon. This monument designation would allow, if I'm reading it right, for people to visit the monument as they can visit many national monuments. I mean, we have national monuments here in Utah, so it doesn't preclude people from visiting that area. It would just preserve that area and ban uranium mining.
Yeah, I would do that. I would, preserve the 300 cultural sites for Native Americans. But no, I mean, people could still, as I understand it, they could still visit the national monument.
Right.
Of course, the adjacent Grand Canyon National Park is always going to be the big draw for people coming in from, not just around the country, but from around the world. So, the national park itself will remain the dominant force up there.
Jim Cross, thank you for joining us from our sister station in Phoenix, KTAR. Thanks, Jim.
So this rest of this week, Utah will be making big news, big headlines because of President Biden's visit to Utah. He will be here to honor the one-year anniversary of the PACT Act. Dave, I thought you did a good job describing why this PACT Act is so important, and it has to do with veterans. It went into effect about a year ago, and what it does is it basically extends coverage to them for certain presumed diseases that they got while serving in post 9/11 wars, like in, for example, Afghanistan, in Iraq, where they were exposed to burn pits. Tell us what burn pits are.
Well, burn pits are very common. In fact, we kind of use burn pits even when we do some hiking. Say you go hike up in the Uintas and there's a small fire, you have some garbage. You'll throw that garbage in the fireplace and it burns it up. Well, that's what was happening in the desert in Afghanistan, in Iraq. You have all of this garbage. You don't know what to do with it. It's piling up, so they burn it. They would dig a large pit just outside of wherever the base was, and that's where they would burn up all of their garbage. But it sounds like it was very, hey, let's dig a big pit fill it with some jet fuel and just toss stuff in there. And what they have found is that there's been some serious health consequences, cancer, that has resulted because of the use of all these burn pits.
And there is a very critical deadline that happens this week that happens to coincide with President Biden's visit for veterans to get backdated benefits. Let's talk about that next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, stay right here for more of Dave and Dujanovic.
And tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
As summer winds down, the storylines are ramping up.
Gasoline inventories are now at the lowest level since 2015.
Utah is now a member of the Big 12 Conference.
Warmer temperatures will continue through the month of August.
Keep up with these and the stories still to come. Listen to Tim and Amanda in the morning from 5 to 9. David Dujanovic at 9 and Boyd Matheson at 1. And on your drive home, get breaking updates and Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News from 3 to 7. The news won't slow down, and neither will our coverage on KSL News Radio.
I've had soft water for, I'm going to do some quick math, I think 5.5 years, 6 years from Connecticut of Utah. Connecticut of Utah has installed my water softener. It works phenomenally. And even though I have 6 years in on this system, I still have 4 years remaining. That's what they do. They cover it for 10 years, a 10-year warranty, because they have such faith in their system. They know that, you know what? 10 years, if anything goes wrong, give us a call. We'll come out, make sure that everything is working perfectly. I've never had to call them. It just works. I throw some salt in the bin every few months, and I get soft water in my house, and we absolutely love the result. Because of the way the Connecticut water system is designed, it uses 2/3 less salt than everybody else, so it truly does only have to be replaced or filled every couple of months in my family. And then when we do load it up, we're good for a little bit. So if you're interested, give Connecticut of Utah a call, 801-576-8600, 801-576-8600, or check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high-commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee, structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
I guess it's human nature, Amanda, that no matter how much money we have in our savings account, it never seems like it's enough. And if you find yourself in that mode right now, let us direct you over to our friends at UCCU. They are wanting to help you supercharge your savings.
UCCU is offering high-rate savings options with yields up to 5.5%. All you do is go to UCCU.com and select a high-rate savings option to do just what you said, supercharge your savings.
You're going to get a much bigger return on your savings right now. It's a savings certificate, which means you make one deposit up front and your money grows over a fixed period of time. So you can have that grow over 5 years, but UCCU has created some very short-term savings certificates with high yields, short like 6 months, 9 months, or a year.
So you decide how long do you want to put that money. You deposit money, a one-time only deposit, and then you let it stay in. The longer it stays in there, the higher the interest rate you earn.
And if you need immediate access to your money, UCCU's Money Market will give you a high yield and anytime access.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, we're learning more about President Biden's agenda when he visits Utah tomorrow. Second, the Utah Supreme Court hearing arguments today about the court order that's kept Utah's so-called trigger law on abortion from taking effect. And third, bad weather back east means hundreds of canceled flights across the country. Right now, 70 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
You're going to have to keep it tuned right here at KSL News Radio for our full and ongoing coverage of President Biden's visit to Utah this week. He will be here in part to mark the one-year anniversary of what's called the PACT Act. The PACT Act has had a significant impact on veterans who are ill because of exposure to burn pits. And Dave has done a really good job describing what these burn pits are. And CNN spoke to a veteran, Dave, before he died. He was a staff sergeant, about the PACT Act and the importance of coverage for these kind of they're like pre-qualifying conditions like cancer. Well, he died from cancer in his 30s, and here's kind of what he said to veterans before his death.
It's too late for me, but it's not too late for the next veteran that walks down the hall of the VA. We have a chance right now to get ahead of that ball. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
These burn pits, if you're just joining us, I've described it a couple of times. We've talked to veterans that have served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and essentially what happens is when you have this mobile base in the middle of Afghanistan, in the desert or in the mountains, wherever it might be, you accumulate a huge amount of garbage, whether it's human waste or it's just the garbage from living at MRE packs, whatever it might be. Well, to get rid of that, instead of packing it up and hauling it home or digging a big pit and burying it, they would actually burn it. So they would dig a big hole, they would throw everything in there, they would throw in jet fuel or diesel fuel, and they would burn all of this trash to get rid of it. Well, we have learned that since then, all the things that were being thrown in there, tires and all sorts of stuff, those released carcinogens and caused a lot of cancer for these veterans.
Estimates say about 86% of our veterans who served in either Iraq or Afghanistan were exposed to burn pits. And what they did is they extended coverage for diseases that are presumptive diseases, presumed to be connected to our veterans being around burn pits. And they are the worst of the worst diseases. They're the brain cancers. They're the head cancer of any type, kidney cancers, lymphoma of any type, melanoma, neck cancer of any type, pancreatic cancer. There's a whole slew of lung diseases on that list. And I did notice as I was doing my research about President Biden's visit this week, him addressing the one-year anniversary of the PACT Act taking hold, or the expansion of the PACT Act, there is this critical deadline this week for veterans to apply for backdated benefits. There's no deadline to apply for PACT Act benefits, but if you want to apply for backdated benefits, you have to do so by August 9th, which is Wednesday. We are going to put a link at kslnewsradio.com after the show. So if you know somebody who's a veteran who is presumed to have been close to or get a disease because of a burn pit, get them on that form right away. Get that form to them right away and get them to sign up for these backdated benefits. I mean, it's quite possible that people are not realizing that they qualify for this money. Braden Wayman, he's an Army veteran, joining us live. And Braden, what is your take on the PACT Act and what it's done for veterans?
Good morning. I really am in favor of this PACT Act. Before the law was passed, the VA was turning down nearly 80% of the burn pit toxic exposure claims, but now they're approving over 80% of them. When I first came back from my first deployment in 2004, they asked if we were exposed to it, and we were like, yeah. Well, do you want to be checked for it? Yeah. What are the symptoms and signs? And they pretty much said no idea. So now that you fast forward all these years, I'm really pleased that they're taking this serious.
Have you experienced anything yet, Braden?
Yeah, so I went on va.gov/PACT, and that you can see all the eligibility requirements and everything like that. In March, I filled out my form and submitted it, and it just took about 3 months for it to get approved, and it was a pretty simple, easy process.
Were you able to get backdated benefits, and what does that mean exactly? What are those benefits all about?
So I'm expecting it to come. It is the VA, so it hasn't came yet. But since I filed before the 9th, I filed a couple months ago. I am expecting the back pay to when I filed.
So is it a disability benefit? Is that what you're getting? Is like a one lump sum kind of payout and then continued care? How does that work?
The continued care, I think, is the most important part, that the VA will have to cover me now for any of these for the rest of my life. And I do get a monthly disability increase because of the conditions that I got from the burn pits.
I went to this website as well. You said va.gov/PACT, and it appears that it goes all the way back to Vietnam era veteran eligibility, yes. Gulf War, post 9/11 stuff. Because it sounds, as you were describing this, that burn pits were what everyone did.
Well, Vietnam was also, it has to do with Agent Orange and exposure to Agent Orange, right, Braden?
Correct. And like depleted uranium, any kind of like bad air carcinogens that, in any war. I mean, it's kind of amazing what they throw into these things, but turns out they're not very good on a human body. So if you are ever deployed, and on that website, it gives a list of places in Africa, the Middle East. If you were ever there and you were exposed to this stuff, you should definitely file as soon as you can to get treated for this, because people are dying, and the VA didn't take this stuff serious for the longest time, or maybe they didn't know. But now they give you the presumption of like, hey, I joined the Army and I didn't have asthma. And now I have asthma, I can't breathe, I need a CPAP, I have, these different kind of cancers. They'll take care of you, or they'll do everything they can to take care of you now.
A little bit surprising it took us so long to figure out that throwing tires in the middle of a desert and burning it with jet fuel is a bad idea. But what is the standard now? Have they moved away from using burn pits?
So I haven't been deployed since 2010, but I hope that they would make a more conscious effort to be like, hey, this, like you said, this isn't the best idea. I think we should protect our soldiers.
Braden Wayman is an Army veteran. He's on the line with us as President Biden prepares to set down in Utah, and he will help mark the 1-year anniversary of the PACT Act, and that's P-A-C-T. If you're looking for information online, we'll put more at KSLNewsRadio.com as well in just about an hour or so. I also read, Braden, that since the PACT Act has opened up more like pre-existing conditions to veterans, about over 110,000 veterans who've had, felt like they've had toxic exposure have also enrolled in VA healthcare since the law was enacted. And I'm glad about that, because they deserve to have health care, but there's also been sort of people who've been reticent to sign on to VA health benefits. What do you say to those veterans who want to have nothing to do with VA health care?
That you absolutely deserve it. The VA isn't the best, but our VA in Salt Lake City, in my opinion, is amazing. You're not taking away money from for someone else. Go get it checked out, see what you can do. It's a great resource. It's for all of us. We all deserve it.
Well, thank you, Braden.
Yeah, thanks, Braden. And remember, Debbie, when you're talking about these enlisted men that are going over, men and women that are that are serving in these areas. I just looked up how much at GoArmy.com a private E1 will make with less than 2 years of experience, $23,000 a year. Now, there's other benefits, some housing, food stuff that goes into that, but $23,000 a year, they have to take care of your long-term health. No question. You are asking people to serve and protect your nation for $23,000 a year, and then you have them burn toxic carcinogenic chemicals in burn pits. Yeah, this is absolutely a must.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top story this hour. President Biden traveling to the Grand Canyon today to declare a new national monument that will cover almost 1 million acres of public land. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze says it's meant to protect sacred tribal lands from mining and drilling.
This new national monument includes 3 sites covering more than 900,000 acres of public land surrounding the Grand Canyon in Arizona. The White House says that the site, called the Ancestral Footprints of Grand Canyon National Monument, will preserve thousands of cultural sites sacred to tribal nations, and it will permanently prevent the mining of uranium on the land.
The Blue Ribbon Coalition, a group opposed to the monument designation, says it's an abuse of the Federal Antiquities Act that will lock the American people out of their public lands. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. At least 7 people have died, dozens have been hurt after dual strikes on civilian targets in the eastern Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk. More from ABC's Ian Pannell in Kyiv.
When Moscow was attacked by drones, when its ships were targeted, the Kremlin vowed to retaliate. And what we've seen since is repeated strikes against food infrastructure, some military sites, but overwhelmingly civilians in the line of fire.
Ukrainian security has also foiled an assassination plot against President Zelensky this week. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 310 points, and the NASDAQ is down 178. It's going to be a cooler day than the rest of the week. We'll have our weather next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
From unexpected lead changes to sudden death overtime, we all know the big game can get pretty unpredictable, which is why you need a connection that is anything but to watch it. With the Xfinity 10G network, you get the reliable connection you need to stream your favorite sports, from baseball, everything in between. Catch it all on the network. Catch it all on the network made for streaming. All the big plays, all the drama and excitement. Stream it all without missing a beat. You're looking for even more entertainment? The Xfinity 10G network was made for streaming it all. Enjoy your favorite shows and movies like never before. So treat yourself to front row seats to all the games and get way more into all the sports you're into when you stream on the next generation Xfinity 10G network. Everything's changing so fast these days, and that's a great thing. Stream it all without missing a beat. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today.
Back to school season can bring excitement, but it can also be overwhelming for children dealing with stress, anxiety, or other mental health challenges. At University of Utah Health, they understand the unique needs of young minds and offer specialized programs to address them. If your child is struggling with school-related pressures or facing personal difficulties, Huntsman Mental Health Institute offers a range of tailored services to meet their individual needs. But it's not just about the kids. They're here to support you too. Their team will work hand in hand with you to ensure a comprehensive support system for your whole family. Huntsman Mental Health Institute is your partner in nurturing young minds. Visit healthcare.utah.edu/HMHI to learn more about their services and to schedule a consultation. Again, to learn more about Huntsman Mental Health Institute, visit healthcare.utah.edu/HMHI.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the earlier crash we had northbound I-15 in North Salt Lake has cleared. All the lanes are open and traffic is back to normal speeds. In fact, you'll be at speed no matter what freeway you're on across the Wasatch Front. That includes I-15 in Utah County, the east and west side belt routes, the 201 freeway, and city streets are in pretty good shape as well. Need tires? Don't buy them without the money-saving Burt Bundle from Burt Brothers Tire and Service. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Showers this morning are keeping things cooler through the day with a high of only 82, and that warms to 91 tomorrow, low 90s through the rest of the week. A chance for more thunderstorms on Friday and Saturday. 72 degrees, partly cloudy at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic.
And this may not be the most important story of the day, but it definitely will be the most talked about story of the day. In fact, golf carts were for golf courses only. Oh, you'd be so wrong. You'd be so wrong because
so old school. That's what all the cool kids are using.
They are.
Nobody drives cars anymore.
Yeah, more and more these golf carts you speak of are buzzing around our neighborhoods. So we're going to take a look at whether or not this is legal.
Zipping around town.
There have been 3 incidents with golf carts in Utah, leading to one big happy question. Should they be banned from city streets? Yes!
No! What?
Yes!
What is your problem with golf carts?
Look, we know, for those of us who are regular golfers, Dave, you're included in this, you're kind of a regular golfer. I saw you drive one off the tee not too long ago. You're
That's
good.
Snap hook one.
You're good.
I'm sure.
Look, you have to admit that navigating a golf course, like in the rough and over the sand pits and stuff, you know those things can flip, right? I mean, how many
No,
times?
I do not.
How many times? Look, I do not.
We've wobbled a few times.
I keep my play off the fairway and into the rough, and it gets a little rugged out there. So these things are not exactly.
They're not 4-wheelers.
4-wheelers. They're more like 3-wheelers.
Yeah.
So you say, keep them in the neighborhoods.
Okay, this is why I love golf carts, and I like having them in my neighborhood. Can they be a little dangerous? Yeah. But do you know what else is a nuisance and dangerous? Kids on bikes, kids on rollerblades, kids on skateboards. If we removed everything that was a little bit of a nuisance, we'd be removing children from our neighborhoods. So, yeah, give me a golf cart. I'll get one tomorrow. I'll drive it all around my neighborhood. I don't even like walking on the golf course. I certainly don't like walking in my neighborhood.
Here's the difference between what you just cited and what a golf cart brings is rollerblades, skateboards, bikes, unless you have a tandem bike, it's one person.
Okay.
Golf carts pack in. I mean, I've seen golf carts. I'm not going to be able to say that word. Just
golf carts.
I don't know what's going on. I've seen golf carts packed with kids. And they're
Were you in my neighborhood?
Yeah. No.
Was my kid hanging off the side?
Look, I was sitting on my porch a couple of days ago, just reading a book, enjoying my new book that I've been engrossed in. And some kids zip by and they scream. And I look up and there must have been, it was like a clown car full of kids zipping at what I would think is a high rate. It's not golf course speed. So listen to what happened, though, recently, and it might change your mind, Dave. KSL Television's Lauren Steinbrecher met with police captain Britt Smith in Pleasant Grove about things that have been going on in Pleasant Grove with golf carts.
We have been making traffic stops.
Young teens and kids driving golf carts on roads and misbehaving while they do it.
Oftentimes it's 4, 5, 6 juveniles hanging off of the golf cart while they're going down the roadway. Lehigh did have an accident that was fairly severe with serious injuries.
Lehigh PD saying 6 kids around 12, 13 years old rolled in a golf cart and 3 of the kids were hospitalized.
We also have no desire to see kids hurt or killed.
And golf carts, no question, they can be dangerous. You go on to any social media site and you type in golf cart accident, there is a steady stream of adults driving these things into ponds, rolling them on the side of mountains.
I think the accident in Lehigh, there was about 6 kids
Yeah.
in a golf cart. You know, and then you and I looked at pictures of that. And what I saw was the front seat of the golf cart, not intact in the golf cart. I saw the front seat of the golf cart on the ground away from the golf cart. So it raises a question, like, if you get in a rollover crash with a golf cart and the kids are flying out and the seat's flying out, that just seems all kinds of dangerous to me. Like, it's not built like a car. Is it legal? No. It's not legal. Pleasant Grove says on its Facebook page, Pleasant Grove City has not adopted a city ordinance that permits the use of golf carts on city streets. So it's unlawful to operate a golf cart on city streets. What have you researched for your own city there, David?
Okay, so there's a couple things going on. In Utah, we have a state code that says essentially if you have a low-speed vehicle, then it doesn't need insurance, doesn't need to be driven by someone that has a license, doesn't need to be street legal. But golf carts are not considered low-speed vehicles. Now, that definition, I think, is really changing. And I'm reading this. This is a post from my police department, the Kaysville Police Department. And they're saying, yeah, it is not a low-speed vehicle. Well, what is a low-speed vehicle anymore? Technology has changed so much in just the last few years. The speed of an electric scooter, an electric bike, these golf carts. On the golf course, they have a regulator, so you can only drive them so quickly. They're only so
no wonder
fast.
I was like, I'm sorry, but I floored
What
that
golf course
thing to be the first one to that errant golf ball that
going 4 miles an hour.
I catapulted onto somebody else's tee box. What are you talking about? No wonder they
At
take
a super low speed.
I know. I could crawl there faster. But what you're saying is that what parents are doing is that they are buying these golf carts, they're sticking their kids in it, and they're taking the regulator off of it?
Yeah, or that doesn't come with the regulator in the first place, or the kids are teeing it.
Why would parents why would you want to take on that kind of liability? If your kid, unlicensed, zipping around, because here's what happened in Lehigh. They say 6 juveniles, ages 12 to 13, so they ain't got a driver's license, riding in a golf cart. Juvenile driver went around a corner too quickly, rolled the cart, injuring all 6 juveniles in the cart, 3 of them suffering significant injuries. And then they go on to say, golf carts, gas or electric, they put a qualifier in there. Regardless of what your children may try to convince you of, or maybe you are trying to convince yourself of, are not legal on Lehigh City streets. So you just put your kid behind the wheel of a golf cart. They're a teenager. A bunch of other kids got injured. They're going too fast. They roll the thing. Why would you want to accept that liability?
Well, we take these chances every day. I mean, we do, Deb. Every time. Have you ever put a kid on rollerblades? I watch it all day, every day.
Your argument just doesn't hold any water here because it's one child on rollerblades.
So if only one child was on the golf court,
you're not taking on the liability of somebody else's child because they're in their own rollerblades. If your child is the one driving the golf cart or your kid is in the passenger seat, egging the kid to go out fast so other kids can fly off the back, then you've got 5 other kids on that golf cart. With your argument, it just doesn't make sense to me.
How many times?
The dots are not connecting.
Okay, I'll connect the dots for you. How many times did you, because I know this was a go-to move for me, my buddy's on his bike, and I jump on the handlebars, or I'm hanging on the side, We're both riding, and we see this all the time with scooters, where there's multiple people on these little bird scooters. Like, trust me, the problem is not that kids are going to be dangerous on a golf cart. They're dangerous on scooters. They're dangerous on bicycles. So are we going to outlaw all of this because a kid has a chance of getting hurt? I don't want any kids hurt. I want them to be safe. I hope they all wear helmets. but you can't
golf cart.
make everything illegal.
Okay, who's on
Trust me,
team-
the golf cart is way safer than a bicycle.
Who's on Team Dave? Go wild on a golf cart no matter what city street you're on. Or on Team Deb. No, we need to ban golf carts altogether on city streets. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Please, please, please weigh in next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Did you know Utah has just one all-news station in the morning?
It's this one. Weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We're Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. We're here in the dog days of summer. Yes, the month of August. And you know, to get that perfect steak, you don't have to be out there in the hot weather. You don't have to be slaving over that barbecue. All you have to do is get into Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, and they do all the work for you. They do all of the prep. They do all of the grilling. They do all of the cleanup. And you are going to have the best steak you have ever had at either location, 275 Southwest Temple, right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City. A lot of people, of course, like to combine the Ruth's Chris experience with something going on downtown, maybe a concert, just a simple movie. And then there's Hotel Park City. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, if you're going to be up in Summit County, going for a hike, just getting away, going to the outlet stores. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Hotel Park City. The best steak you have ever had is waiting for you right there at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Ron had a tax problem he just couldn't handle on his own.
I owed the IRS taxes for over 5 years, but I didn't have any money to pay the taxes.
Those years cost him dearly.
Most of it was fees and interest. It was horrible.
Ron finally called in the pros.
I called Optima Tax Relief, and boy, am I happy I did.
The leading tax resolution firm, Optima, is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They've resolved over $1 billion for their clients. Ron was overjoyed.
They settled my account with IRS. I was ecstatic. They are a lifesaver. They are. I am so happy.
Take Ron's advice and call Optima now for a free consultation.
Yeah, don't do like I did and wait. Call Optima Tax Relief. Do it now. You'll be ecstatic like me.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Today only, Zero Res is opening up their $25 special. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and you'll pay just $25 per room. There is nothing better than being out and about with a family, except maybe coming home to a clean and residue-free home. The Zero Res cleaning process has been proven to remove more dirt, more dust, and more allergens than the other guys. Plus, the no residue cleaning means your carpets will stay cleaner longer. Today only, schedule your Zero Res carpet cleaning and pay just $25 per room cleaned. Full room minimum, but there are no maximums. So yes, even really big families with big homes, this one's for you too. Carpet cleaning for just $25 per room. Only a Zero Res carpet and air duct cleaning. I'm sure it's been on your mind. Schedule today and save money while you're at it. The sale ends today. Nephi to Ogden. Everyone can schedule online at zerorez.com. ZEROREZ.com.
Join KSL's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon at the grand opening of the new Bedrock Courts location in Spanish Fork. Friday, August 11th from 1 to 3, bedrockcourts.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, President Biden is in Arizona today planning to create a new national monument that sits between the Utah state line and the Grand Canyon. Second, the president's next stop planned for Utah tomorrow. Third, a pair of Russian missile attacks hit a city in eastern Ukraine. The second apparently meant to injure first responders caring for victims of the first one. Right now, 72 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We need our listeners to help us settle the score. I think Dave is stuck in the sand trap on his ideas about golf carts and making them legal on city streets. We're learning that a lot of cities ban them, but some don't. And that kids are getting hurt in them. So police are issuing, warnings to parents that these are not legal. And there's on city streets, and they're also like not legal to have your kids who aren't even licensed behind the wheel of these things.
Yeah, you're supposed to, with these golf carts, have a driver's license in the vehicle, air quotes. Can I air quote the vehicle, golf cart vehicle? That should be insured as well. It doesn't qualify as one of those low-speed vehicles. So it has to be, there's some laws surrounding that. It's got to become street legal.
I think that they should be banned from city streets. They should be remanded to the place they belong, which is on a golf course. And that's Team Deb's mantra is ban golf carts in city streets. What's your mantra?
I love the golf carts. I don't want them on the freeway. I don't want the 14-year-old like, don't worry, we're going to get to Lagoon on our own, Mom and Dad.
We're glad your team has some restrictions there.
We do have some restrictions. Something has got to be reasonable. But largely, I like the idea of kids, cruising around on these things. I like there to be more opportunities to drive these golf carts around. Yeah, you can drive that unsafely. No question you can. Just like you can drive a bicycle or rollerblades. Like those all can be extremely
that
dangerous.
Argument
There
that
was
is
zero
not the
debunking.
same as a golf cart that packs 5 or 6 kids. It doesn't have room necessarily for that many kids. Rollerblades, one kid. One kid and a pair of rollerblades. It's just not the same. You're trying to compare apples to bananas here, and it's just not working for me. 801-575-TALK. We need listeners to settle the score. Travis in Eagle Mountain, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. Are you calling us from the 9th tee box?
No, ma'am. I'm up in Daybreak right now.
Oh, you are? So what? Kind of my neck of the woods. So what do you think about the idea of banning golf carts?
Okay, so I'm pretty neutral about, I can see what you're saying. I can see what Dave's saying. I'm on the streets all day. We do infrastructure up here, and I think no matter what kids get a hold of, they push the limits. I see these e-bikes with one sitting on the seat, one sitting on the handlebars, one sitting on the back fender. I see me as a kid in the 80s riding my bike. I had a buddy on my pegs up front, a buddy on the pegs on the back. I'm riding the bike. I got 3 or 4 kids.
Yep.
So
You're in charge of
see
pedaling,
your
huh?
point, Deb.
Yeah.
But I see Dave's point, too, because if kids are outside playing and having fun, I think it's up to the parents to teach the kids the limits.
Yeah. I know.
What do we do? How do we use equipment properly?
Yeah, my kids are grown, and they're in their 20s, and sometimes I don't want to know, anymore. But I have to tell you, when my kids were younger, and I was just having this text conversation with my ex-husband, he texted me. And I said, there is no way our kids were ever getting out of the driveway and behind the wheel of a golf cart. I wouldn't even allow them on a trampoline. And so
Instead, you put them on ATVs and snowmobiles?
Hey, off-road in Utah's backcountry with helmets, with full gear. I mean, my kids looked like they were knighted. They had like all of the chest protectors, the leg. You can say what you want about that, but it's different than putting them on 114th South or 106th South. Or, city streets in downtown areas riding around in golf carts where cars are, where semi-trucks are, where tracks trains go. 801-575-TALK. Dave's got more phone calls.
Sandy in South Jordan. What do you think, Sandy?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Just wanted to chime in. You're going to get the grandma perspective here. I live in my little 55-plus community, so I don't see this very often, but on the 24th of July, I was with my grandkids and their families, just enjoying an evening, and these kids on golf carts were going through the neighborhood at just high speeds, really kind of maniac behavior, 6 or 7 kids kind of barely holding on. We just felt unsafe, and so I think their behavior was infringing on the freedoms of everyone else. We just didn't feel safe with our kids, Apparently, that same group of kids took out a mailbox the week before. The parents aren't supervising or having any accountability for the kids on this.
They're clueless. I don't know if I saw that same group of kids. I don't think I live that far from you, Sandy. Thank you so much for the phone call. And maybe the parents are just absolutely clueless as to what their kids are up to. But I don't know who's giving them is there like a key for this thing? I mean, how do they have like just a key and then you talked about
the key stays in the golf cart. Like it never gets removed.
And there's no regulator on these ones, so they can't control the speeds, right? How fast can these things go without a regulator? I don't know. On the golf course,
they're not terribly fast. They're still under 20 miles an hour.
Oh, okay.
So this is the point I want to make.
Go for
because of technology and how much it has changed. And Carl, stick around. We're going to get to you in just a moment, but. The technology has changed so much in just the last few years when you're talking about e-bikes, electric scooters, even electric skateboards, one wheels, whatever it might be. These things are so powerful. They're faster than a golf cart, like far faster, far more maneuverable than a golf cart. And I find them far more dangerous. A golf cart, you have four wheels, and it can be extremely dangerous.
If you're wondering why Dave and I are talking about golf carts, that's because several cities have issued statements, police departments in particular, warning parents and all residents that golf carts are not legal on city streets. However, that's some cities, not all cities. So some allow for it. They encourage insurance. Parents take out insurance, and they don't allow their underage kids who don't, have a driver license to drive the golf carts. But we want to know, should golf carts be banned on city streets? I feel like they should be, on golf courses only. Dave says, there should be some leeway there for kids or golf carts. Dave, are you on board with kids? Oh,
yeah, both.
Without a driver license?
Yeah.
Oh,
look at what happens across the state. If you work on a farm, young kids or younger kids are able to work farm equipment that is far more dangerous than a golf cart. Are there some reasonable regulations that you could put? Sure, probably. Except, again, I don't know why golf carts are getting such a bad rap. Like how many?
We can talk about e-bikes tomorrow.
We've had several. We've had 2 or 3 incidents recently.
Yeah, Lehigh, there was a rollover crash involving kids who were kind of preteens. Teens and preteens. I got to go back and look at that copy for sure. But who were in a rollover crash. 3 of them ended up in the hospital. 12 to 13-year-olds, according to police there. 6 juveniles packing in a golf cart.
Yeah, you'll also remember, I think there was a newlywed couple that was hit by a drunk driver. They killed the people. Yeah, it was a newlywed. Yeah, leaving a wedding, right?
Right.
So, things happen, and it's tragic, and it's sad. The question I have is, do we put all these laws in place to prevent people from driving golf carts, prevent them from driving scooters or e-bikes that are far more powerful and fast than a golf cart?
Carl from Provo, good morning. We have about 45 seconds. Do you feel like the golf cart should be banned or allowed on city streets?
Well, I think there should be provisions for them to be on streets. We moved here about 5 years ago from Idaho, and I'd never seen a golf cart on the street before. And here we're going to church on Sunday, and there's a golf cart. People driving to school, drive to church in a golf cart. I thought, wow, that's novel. Maybe I ought to get one. They're kind of cute. However, that being said, there is a certain danger that we need to address in this. It reminds me of the days in the 50s when people drove convertibles. And people used to hang out at convertibles going somewhere down the street. Yeah, there's something to be concerned about. But I don't think it's any more threatening than driving a bike on the street. And there's bikes all over the place. I think it's a little hypocritical to pick on golf carts when you're allowing bikes to be everywhere, and they're dangerous too. A car can hit them and put the guy in the hospital easily.
Well, Carl, thank you.
So, yeah, there's got to be some responsibility on this.
Thank you so much. I personally enjoy being hypocritical. So, no. Well, today we're picking on golf carts. Tomorrow or the next day we'll pick on these e-bikes, because I think you brought up an excellent point. They are going faster, and sometimes they're on paths that are meant mainly for walking. And I can see all kinds of issues in the future as those get faster and faster.
I saw a scooter being sold the other day that said it goes over 55 miles an hour.
Yikes.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. President Biden is in Arizona today to designate a new national monument that covers more than 900,000 acres between the Grand Canyon and the Utah state line. In English, it's called the Ancestral Footprints Grand Canyon National Monument. The actual name is a combination of the Havasupai and Hopi languages. And 12 different tribal groups support the designation of the new monument, which they say will protect ancestral homelands and resources. Opponents of the designation say it ties up federal lands that belong to all the American people. President Biden landing in Utah tomorrow. His visit will focus heavily on veterans. The president plans a speech marking the one-year anniversary of the PACT Act, a law expanding veterans' health benefits for those exposed to toxic burn pits in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. More than 11,000 Los Angeles City employees, including sanitation workers, engineers, traffic officers, and LAX employees, walked off the job today for a 24-hour strike. Joe Martinez, a mechanic at LAX, says their goal is to feel heard by the city.
Right now, we want respect, and we want to be back to what they promised us, that we're going to staff us and overworked us.
Many LA City workers say they can't afford to live in the city they serve. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 278 points on the day right now. The NASDAQ is down 172. And our KSL weather, a cooler day today. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
On KSL News Radio.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile. And the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time. There's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Today only, Zero Res is opening up their $25 special. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and you'll pay just $25 per room. There's nothing better than being out and about with the family, except maybe coming home to a clean and residue-free home. The Zero Res cleaning process has been proven to remove more dirt, more dust, and more allergens than the other guys. Plus, the no residue cleaning means your carpets will stay cleaner longer. Today only, schedule your Zero Res carpet cleaning and pay just $25 per room cleaned. Full room minimum, but there are no maximums. So yes, even really big families with big homes, this one's for you too. Carpet cleaning for just $25 per room. Only a Zero Res carpet and air duct cleaning. And I'm sure it's been on your mind. Schedule today and save money while you're at it. The sale ends today. Nephi to Ogden. Everyone can schedule online at zerorez.com. ZEROREZ.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificate. Here's Ricky Meese.
I just watched the last vehicles of a crash in Weber County pull away northbound I-15 near 2700 North in the far west area. They were out of traffic on the shoulder, so we don't have any delays there and no delays on any of your Salt Lake County freeways. If you want a heating and air company using third-party verification over their work, that's one of the highest rated on both Google and Yelp. Then call At Your Service Pros, 801-YOUR-PRO. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, the showers this morning are keeping things cooler through the day with a high of only 82, and that warms up to 91 degrees tomorrow, low 90s through the rest of the week, and there is a chance for more thunderstorms Friday and Saturday. Right now, 75 degrees, partly cloudy at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
President Biden is on a Western states tour of sorts in Arizona today. We spoke earlier to our sister station, KTAR. Jim Cross, a reporter there, joins the show frequently, talked about the monument designation of nearly 1 million acres near the Grand Canyon to be designated as a national monument. And then tomorrow he makes his way to Utah, where he'll spend a couple of days.
There were a couple of things that stood out to me when we were talking to Jim in Arizona. He's like, President Biden, not popular. I mean, he barely won Arizona against Trump in 2020 by 0.3%, like very, very narrow win. And it has not gone well for the president in Arizona. He's not super popular, obviously, here in Utah, New Mexico, more popular. But this is not an area that the president visits very often. So this is a big deal.
It's his first. Is it his first stop in Utah? Boyd Matheson
as president. Yes,
as president.
Come cash a check.
Okay,
get your money.
Let's start from Boyd's 30,000, foot view on the president's tour of the Western United States. What is the significance of it?
So first, I applaud the president because I think the real test of leaders is to go into places you're not necessarily welcome. Anybody can go to where you're popular. Anybody can go where you're going to have, roaring, raging fans in your behalf. I think it's important for presidents to go into places that are hard for them. And so I do applaud the president coming out west and doing that. I wish in his Arizona trip, he would have taken a little trip to the border. That might have been a nice tip to the people of that state who live on the border.
What's going on down there, Boyd?
I think there's a few things that have some policies that the president could talk about, that he should talk about. So I think that was a miss in terms of the president in Arizona.
So like Yuma, Nogales, Tucson.
To just have the conversation and say, you know what, we know there's a problem, and so let's not pretend there's not a problem. Let's go engage in the problem. And he can have a conversation and talk about policies that they're trying to implement. And I think that's an important part of that. I also think there are tremendous opportunities. This is one of those where I think sometimes the inner bubble of presidents, both parties, often wade into something but don't really go in, and they miss opportunities because of it. So I think not going to the border in Arizona was a miss. I think coming to the state of Utah, I think he'll give a great speech as it relates to veterans and the PACT Act. Super important. And Utah's awesome when it comes to veterans. We're going to have Terry Scow on our program a little later on today, talking about what veterans need to do in terms of the PACT Act. There's some important deadlines coming up there.
Right.
But the president should also lean into Representative John Curtis and what he's doing with the Conservative Climate Caucus. The president wants to talk about climate, talk about all the areas where there is common ground right here in the state of Utah. And the president could really parlay that. But often the staffs around presidents will say, okay, we're going to do the hard thing. We're going to go into unfriendly territory. We're going to go into a red state, or we're going to go into a blue state. And then they just barely dip their toe in it, and they end up missing the real opportunities. I think President Biden could do much more here in the state. I think it's obviously a changing state, a changing demographic, changing attitudes on a lot of things. So I think he'll have a couple of really good moments while he's in the state, and I think they're going to miss a few by playing overly cautious and staying in the bubble.
Do you think we will see him meeting with perhaps leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the governor, other conservative lawmakers, or will they kind of be sent off?
That's always the debate on these kinds of trips of who gets access, what meetings are held. Again, it's one of those opportunity moments. And do they lean into those, or do they say, uh-oh, it's a Republican governor, or this is a really conservative state? Again, often that comes down to staffing. Who is staffing the president on the trip? Who are the advanced people? And what do they really want to accomplish in this trip? It would be a massive mistake for the president not to meet with Governor Cox. It would be with all of the things going on with water, lands, climate. They have a host of things that they can talk about and have a great conversation. Whether it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints
Plus
or
he's
other
the president or the head of the National Governors
That's
Association.
Right. That's right.
On top of the issues that we have here, he is the top person of the National Governors Association. So you're right, a little stop up here on Capitol Hill, or where they're able to meet maybe on some mutual ground, some territory, at least have that moment together. But we don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
We know that he's going to make a speech about the PACT Act when the president arrives. He arrives in town Wednesday, which is tomorrow. He's here Thursday for a speech about the PACT Act. What the PACT Act does is it allows veterans to dip into funds if they were exposed to burn pits.
That's right.
A lot of these burn pits were, Afghanistan, Iraq, and there's a whole list of countries and places that our veterans served that could be eligible for this PACT Act benefit. You also talked about an important deadline that happens this week.
Yeah,
we
on the
spoke
9th.
about it on our show, which allows for veterans to see if they're eligible for backdated benefits. And we spoke to a veteran about that on our show. We're going to put more about that on KSLNewsRadio.com. But that deadline is, Wednesday, right?
It's Wednesday. It is on the 9th, and that's a very important one. This is actually an issue goes back to when I was in Washington. This has been debated for a long time, and then there was an extension of the benefits, and what does that mean to veterans? And so this is a really important deadline in terms of being able to access that. And so we encourage our veterans to reach out, get that information, and if there's any question at all. And again, this is another area where President Biden has a great connection. He obviously lost a son to brain cancer. He's often questioned publicly if that was a direct result of his son, who was in the military, being exposed to some of those kinds of chemicals and burn pits. And so there's a story to be told there. There's a conversation to be had. And so to me, the question will be, will the people around the president let the president be the president and let him lean into real substantive conversations as opposed to photo ops and positioning kinds of things? I think there's a great opportunity for the president here in the state of Utah to have a different kind of conversation that actually might surprise some people across the country as well.
Is there a threat, though, if you start adding layers to your visit? So if you're doing the National Monument in northern Arizona, but you're doing the southern border, or you're hitting the PACT Act here and disagree better, where you're just fragmenting so many of your messages that it dilutes the real purpose that you're wanting to drop by?
Well, I think if you look at the overall trip, so this is sort of I call this the Rose Garden on the Road strategy. So typically presidents don't like to dip into campaign funds to travel around the country, do things. But if you're doing policy things, then you can travel. And so that's part of the government. That's part of governing. And so this is kind of a Rose Garden thing where they're doing National Monument, PACT Act. He's also going to do some things in New Mexico around some of the infrastructure stuff. And so it's sort of the Rose Garden on the road is how they're going about it. And so they do want to get all of those messages out there. The biggest challenge for the president is moving the president around. If you look at the advance work, and those people who work advance, bless them all. They're amazing people. And the security folks, to move a president in particular around is no small task. So every time you add a stop, every time you schedule another meeting, it is 27 layers of complexities that they're dealing with. So it is hard. Some people say, oh, well, just, pop on up to the Capitol or just, walk across the street and go see somebody.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It just doesn't work that way.
I'm sure we're going to have road closures.
Absolutely.
That will happen. And, of course, our amazing traffic team will keep our listeners up to date on all of those. Boyd Matheson, so you launched your coverage about President Biden's visit this afternoon, speaking to an expert on what veterans are eligible for.
Yeah, Terry Scow will join us at 1:50 today.
Okay, 1:50. Important information. We've got to get this information to as many listeners as possible, as I do not want them, and I know you don't. Nobody wants them to miss that important deadline, which is Wednesday.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. Inside Sources today from 1 to 3.
Next, we're going to take you live to Draper City. We've got the mayor of Draper who's going to check in with us on all the damage that they have suffered in recent days because of those incredibly monsoonal, torrential, they were like tsunami-like rains that just poured down, at least on the south end of the valley last week. He's calling the show in a matter of minutes.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
It's a rare visit.
Governor Cox says he wants to meet with President Biden.
From a sitting U.S. president.
It is customary, especially if it's someone from the opposite political party.
Follow President Biden's stay in Utah with KSL. Tune in 2 or 3 times a day for updates and analysis. A presidential visit. Special coverage this week on KSL News Radio.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Jeff Kaplan.
I'm blessed that KSL has given me the freedom to talk about whatever I want. Literally, it is my minute of news. It might be something bizarre that you didn't know. Sometimes it's pegged to what's happening that very day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, folks, let me tell you, we've loved having a relationship with Be Ready Utah. It's someone in a website, beready.utah.gov, that has been a phenomenal resource for us here at KSL and I think for the community. Joining us right now is Jeff Johnson. He's a Be Ready Schools Coordinator. And Jeff, let's start off with back to school because I think that's top of mind. Next couple of weeks, kids are going to be going back to school. How about walking safety? And then we can get to bus safety as well.
Okay. Yeah, the kids need to be aware that there are a lot of safety things they have to practice while they're walking to school. I think primarily those are using a crosswalk and obeying crossing guards near the
They're
school.
the worst at that.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
But parents and even teachers need to teach the kids to look both ways before crossing the street, to make sure that they watch for cars coming from a different direction. Most crosswalks are at an intersection, so that's, you can look left and right, but there might be a car coming from behind you making a turn.
Yeah.
And kids need to be told to look more than just left and right. But they need to be taught how to obey the traffic control devices and signs and make sure that they are aware of how to keep themselves safe.
A little known fact, in my younger days, in my early 20s, I used to be a school bus driver. My mom was a school bus driver. My brother was, we all have a long list of school. Wade Matthews a school bus driver as well? My mom and dad both. You're both. Okay, so school bus safety as well.
Yeah, make sure that they obey the bus driver, as you well know, because a lot of times they bail off the bus and aren't following directions from the bus driver. And any staff at the school, they're going to have staff helping kids get on the bus. But when they exit the bus at whatever their location is, they need to make sure that they are following the directions there and not running. I think running is the first thing you teach them not to do. and they don't go around the back or the front of the school bus to cross the street unless they're directed to do so until after the school bus has left, and they should do that at a crosswalk if they're going to do that. The back and the front of the school bus and rapid motion causes most of the traffic accidents that happen around school buses.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the driver component. You got people who don't stop for the school buses, and that is far more prevalent than people think.
That was my biggest frustration as a bus driver, is watching people just run around my red lights, a big stop sign that is pointing out, and they just ignore it. Extremely dangerous. Jeff, if you don't mind sticking around a little bit longer, great resource for back to school, walking, bus safety. Make sure you check it out at beready.utah.gov.
Prices are slashed.
This means hot deals at Dave's Bernina.
At their St. George and Provo locations.
I mean, offers so good we can't tell you the prices, and they won't last long.
Up to 48 months, no interest on certain models.
Come in now for this 3-day event. See the world premiere of the all-new Bernina 790 Pro machine with features you've never seen before, such as a computerized quilting option. Order one now and get a free accessory package worth over $2,400.
Purchase a new Bernina L890
or LH60
and receive all these free gifts,
such as a thread collection and sewing accessories,
Serger suitcase, and the Big Book of Serging. Amazing bargains on previously owned machines while they last that come with warranties.
Starting at $399. So many other hot deals and offers. Come in and take advantage of this sale.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
With the economy the way it is, you're probably staying put. So invest in your home, your number one asset, with beautiful custom replacement windows from Advanced Window Products. They're a local Utah company building beautiful vinyl framed and insulated double pane windows for 37 years right here in Salt Lake City. Advanced Window Products will save you money on your energy bill. Get security features to keep your family safe. And at Advanced Window Products, it's all custom. And the best part? They're local. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. So there's no middleman markup. You save on the highest quality windows in Utah. Plus, Rocky Mountain and Dominion offer rebates. For a limited time, they offer 60-month 0% financing. And right now, get $2,000 off 10 windows or more. They're working 8 weeks out. So make the call now. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, President Biden designating a new national monument in northern Arizona this morning to protect land sacred to many different Native American tribes. Second, the last stop on the president's western swing will be in Salt Lake City tomorrow. And third, LA City employees walked out this morning. Their strike will only last 24 hours. Right now, 75 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Matt Johnson, KSL meteorologist, is going to be along in a moment to fact check me on this, Dave. But it felt like last week, especially Thursday night, you were out of town. I don't know if you got rained on.
You know very well, Debbie. I got rained on.
I was camping in the Uintas.
Hail.
I was.
Did you know there was snow at Kings Peak today?
No.
Debbie, it's August 8th, and there was snow at Kings Peak.
Why was that not our lead story? So I was driving home from Costco. I was on the phone with my daughter, and she said, "What is going on?" And I said, "I don't know what I'm caught in, but I feel like I might not get out of this okay."
I don't know, but some dude has, like, animals 2x2 building a big boat. I don't know what's going on.
I don't think I've ever seen that much rain all at once. And I was in the South Jordan area, and I know our friends in Draper were just getting hammered, so we decided to check in with Draper Mayor Troy Walker. The last check, I saw all kinds of road damage there, and it looked like there was a house teetering. What are things looking like today, Mayor?
Well, we're still, assessing all the different things that were damaged. We had some extensive road damage on Bangor Parkway, one of our park access roads, major damage to it. And then, of course, a roundabout up by the LDS Temple, the storm water vault, the great big concrete box that all the pipes connect in, it actually got blown off the mountain. And so those are our priorities right now, primarily that storm drain box, trying to fix the house that's up there by it. It's not teetering.
Okay.
We've inspected every house that residents have asked us to inspect. There's no structural damage we found on any house as of yet. So that's good news.
Yeah.
What's the cleanup look like? How long is it going to take you to kind of catch up from this storm damage?
Yeah, I don't know. Some of these problems are quite unique ones, like the one up by the roundabout. The pipes are pretty far up in the air, so it's a whole engineering problem that they're working on. They've been working on it since since it happened. But we've got some contractors coming in, some folks to try and get that figured out. But it's going to take a while. We even had some of our paved trails, extensive damage on some of those. And I'm sure I've been everywhere up in the mountains yet, but I imagine some of those also got damaged. But we got between depending on who measures it, between 2.05 and 2.25 inches of rain inside of an hour. That's a lot of water. Our system is designed for an inch an hour. That's the 100-year storm design. So you basically took that funnel and filled it with more than double its capacity.
Mayor of Draper, Troy Walker, on the line with us, talking to us about the cleanup after that just torrential downpour on the city and other cities as well. I was in South Jordan, Mayor, and I've been here 33 years. I don't remember a time I've seen it rain that hard, that fast, all at once. So I felt for your residents there, and this comes on the heels of what you had earlier this year with those homes, a few homes sliding off. One of the areas, it's kind of like, with those cliff views, those beautiful views. And is that cleanup still underway? Because I know it fell onto a trail. Those homes fell onto a trail below.
Yeah, that cleanup actually just got underway last week, and so they're right now doing it. But and we've had a year. Earlier in the year we had groundwater that flooded a lot of homes because the groundwater for the first time in a decade is back to normal. It's been a water year for us, I have to say. We've definitely had our share.
Do you have the funds to deal with this?
Well, obviously, everybody asks me how much is it going to cost, and I can tell you one thing for sure: it's more than I wanted to spend. We don't have a cost yet. I don't know what it's going to cost. The declaration of emergency was done for a couple of reasons. One, it was to get us organized, and two, it was to put us in the position to seek funding from other sources. Now, we don't have anything that's tied down, but we're looking for state, federal, whatever assistance we can get. We're going to need some help. It's expensive repairs.
Yeah.
Draper Mayor Troy Walker, thank you for joining us. And Debbie, as he described that, he said our system is built for a 100-year storm, which is about an inch per hour. And he said they had over 2 inches per hour.
Matt Johnson, KSL meteorologist, walking into studio right now to kind of bring us up to date. I know last week was it seemed like we were getting months worth of rain in minutes. What's the latest? What do you have for us?
Yeah, and that was a push of tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. We are now looking at maybe another push of tropical moisture, but not from the Gulf. This would come from the Baja. Tropical remnants of Tropical Storm Eugene, which is right now crawling up the west side of the Baja. So right now it's hard to say what kind of thunderstorms we could be seeing, but I do have thunderstorms back in the forecast Friday, Saturday. So it's definitely a time frame that we need to watch. I cannot put a number to it just yet.
How big it'll be?
Right, but we will see some thunderstorms in the area.
Again, I'll ask both of you, and Matt, I'm sure you know exactly the answer to this question, but again, I was locked away in the mountains of the Uintas. How far did this stretch, this huge, heavy downpour?
Right, so that specific thunderstorm cell, that supercell we'll call it, that traversed through the south end of the Salt Lake Valley, it actually was at its full mature stage right there over Draper, Suncrest, Cottonwood Heights. And when we see a thunderstorm like that at its fullest maturity dropping that much rain, that is a sign that the thunderstorm is actually it's reached its peak and is now going to be decaying moving forward. That's exactly what happened. So by the time it hit the Uintas in southwest Wyoming, it was laughable. It was light showers.
I didn't think it was that laughable, man. That's freezing.
But I guess
comparatively
right,
speaking,
yeah.
right,
Sorry,
right.
I wasn't trying to. but just
it was wimpy.
The
If you know what I
comparison.
mean, wink, wink.
Hey, listen, I had no idea. It just sounded bad because I was buried in my tent.
Not to catch you off guard, but a meteorologist Noriega over there reported that there's snow on Kings Peak this morning.
Did I hear that
know
right?
about
That
that?
would be accurate. That
What?
would be accurate. Yep.
Coming for your job, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta watch myself right now.
Well,
I'm on
was this
fire.
it's a meteorological terms. Is this just a skiff of snow, or was this like?
Oh, right. Yeah. I don't have any ground truth, as they call it, but radar did indicate some snow falling from the sky, and I believe it because the freezing point was around 13,000 feet.
Wow.
And yeah, we saw it up in the Uintas, and flakes flying also up in the Wind Rivers in western Wyoming. So
Well, Dave you're going to be hiking Kings Peak later this afternoon, right, Dave, to bring us a full snow report.
Too soon, Deb. Too soon. Matt Johnson, thank you, KSL TV meteorologist. Thanks for joining us.
So eyes on the sky this Thursday or this Friday and Saturday for weekend plans is what you're saying, Matt? Okay. All right. Great coverage as always. Thanks to the mayor of Draper for joining us, and also KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson. Next, we're going to return to our live coverage of the Utah Supreme Court. They've been hearing arguments this morning about Utah's new abortion ban law. Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst, joining us with the latest.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Arguments underway at the Utah Supreme Court in a case over abortion rights in Utah. At issue, the state's so-called trigger law, which effectively bans most abortions now that the U.S. Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade. KSL legal analyst Greg Skorda says we likely won't know how Utah's justices will rule for some time to come.
I mean, I think we'll learn the way the wind is blowing. We'll learn where the judges are interested and what their questions are. But their ultimate decision, Amanda, will probably come in the next few weeks or maybe month.
KSL News Radio's Lindsay Aerts is at today's hearing, and we'll have a full report on Jeff Kaplan's afternoon news. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden traveling to the Grand Canyon today to declare a new national monument meant to protect sacred tribal lands. The monument consists of 3 areas near Grand Canyon National Park called the Ancestral Footprints of the Grand Canyon National Monument. More from ABC's Elizabeth Schultze.
This is the 5th national monument that President Biden has designated since taking office. He will make the announcement at the site in Arizona later today. And it's all part of a 3-day trip out west the president is making to highlight his economic policies and investments in climate change as he ramps up his re-election bid.
Among other things, the monument designation restricts uranium mining. Critics of the designation say it'll lock the American people out of their public lands. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, 268 points right now. The NASDAQ is down 161. And our KSL weather, cool today, dry out and warm up through the rest of the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
This summer, the political season heats up.
By August, it'll be time for debates. Can you believe it?
We're planning coverage of the real issues, the important stories that impact how we live.
Listen each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, joining us right now with Be Ready Schools is Jeff Johnson. And Jeff, we've been partnering up with Be Ready Utah for quite a while here at KSL. And as we're discussing back to school, which every parent has a kid going back in the next couple weeks or so, can you help walk me through what schools are doing as far as drills, protective actions when our kids are going back to school?
Yeah, this is mandated in Utah code by the legislature, and schools have been good for decades, for 50 years, doing fire drills, and lockdown has become a really big drill. But there's other drills that schools need to practice, and these protective actions are so important for people to practice because it makes them embed that into their muscle memory and be able to react when things happen. Very important to stay alive and to safety. But, schools need to be aware that during a bomb threat, because of the blast radius of a bomb, the law enforcement responders might ask them to leave the campus, be more than 1,600 feet from the school. And, schools need to practice that, need to be aware of that. They need to be able to evacuate to another location if for some reason the building is untenable and they can't stay there. Every administrator I've ever talked to that's done a full evacuation of the school to another location has just had amazing stories to tell me and experiences they learned from that, because it's not an easy thing to do. And I think one of the most important drills is reunification drills. And it's a tripod. It's got 3 legs. It's the students, the staff, and the parents. And if you don't practice your reunification drills with the parents, you really haven't got a practiced drill. And so,
that's a great point, because I don't know exactly what to do. When is it appropriate that I rush to the school, and how do I find my kids, and when are they going to get bused to me? That's a great thing that I think that we could learn, do a much better job of.
My wife is a teacher at her school. She's been doing this 37 years. I can't get her to retire. She's having too much fun. But at her school, the first time they did a reunification drill, it took 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Really?
The last time they did it, they released 480 students in about 43 minutes.
Practice makes perfect.
Yes.
All right, Jeff, thank you for joining me. If you don't mind, stick around for one more segment in about 15 minutes. We'll continue this conversation about the next level of school preparedness. BeReady.utah.gov is a great resource. Check it out, BeReady.utah.gov.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We have some super exciting news. We're thrilled to announce our brand new store in Tooele. We have been hoping to expand to Tooele for years and finally found the perfect spot. In the heart of the city, Alpine is located just north of Walmart off Main Street. This store will be just like our others. We offer massive selection of home medical supplies. Do you need a CPAP? We've got it. Power scooter? Yep, you're in the right place. Need assistance in your home? We'll get you all set up. Keep your expectations high. We really do have the best staff in the state. You should know we accept most major insurances and can work directly with your provider to get you the care you need. We'll be ready when you need us, so come on by anytime. We're excited to see you in Tooele.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
Good speeds on the Valley freeways. We do have an accident in Weber County, Wall Avenue, 21st Street in Ogden. Did you miss the last sale? I know it's on your list, so don't miss this one. Zero Res carpet cleaning right now is just $25 per room. Minimum supply. Discounted pricing ends today. Schedule online at zerores.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, our showers this morning kept things cooler through the morning with a high of only 82 for the day. That'll warm up to 91 degrees tomorrow, low 90s through the rest of the week. There is a chance for more thunderstorms Friday and Saturday. Right now, 75 degrees, partly cloudy at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Right now, we're going to take you inside the arguments at the Utah Supreme Court. Very important hearing today regarding what's called a preliminary injunction that has been in place for more than a year now. And because that injunction is in place, which was put in place by a judge here in Utah, Dave, on Utah's abortion law, that new law has not been able to take effect. And if you're lost in the weeds on what this new law would do, we're going to give you more details on that in just a moment.
And there seems to be a working law right now that is kind of the in-between law that everyone's working off of, which is an 18-week abortion ban. So anything after 18 weeks. But the one thing we do know is the Supreme Court of the United States was clear. Abortion decisions belong to the state. And Utah state lawmakers made a decision. They passed a law that was ready to be enacted as soon as Roe versus Wade was overturned. And again, had Roe v. Wade never been overturned, this law never would have taken effect. But last year, the Supreme Court overturned. It's the Dobbs case, and now Roe v. Wade is no longer the law of the land.
So what would Utah's abortion law do when it becomes law, when the pause, if it is removed? What would it do? Well, it would essentially ban elective abortions. Women could seek an abortion under very narrow circumstances. The mother's life is in danger. The mother has been raped. The baby's mother has been a victim of incest. So there's very narrow exclusions that would apply. But this law, again, is on hold, and our very own legal analyst, Greg Skordas, has been listening to both sides. The state I'm assuming the state is trying to get this pause removed so the law can get enacted, whereas the opponents of the law are probably asking the justices to keep it in place. But you've been watching it, so you fill us in.
Well, you're exactly right. And the state's attorney argued for over 2 hours. I mean, these arguments started at 9. I've been watching them since they started. She took the table there for over 2 hours, was just drilled by every one of the Supreme Court justices for quite some time. They took a break, and Planned Parenthood's attorneys are now speaking, and they've already started the barrage of questions for them. So the Supreme Court really started by saying, we normally have arguments scheduled for 20 minutes. We're throwing that rule out the window. We've read all your briefs. We know everything you're about to say, but we have a ton of questions, and they didn't really let these lawyers present their argument at all because they kind of knew what it was. They drilled it right away with questions specific to each of their respective arguments.
What were some of the things, the lines of questioning that stood out to you most that the justices were asking the state?
Well, I think what they were drilling down on the state was the whole notion that why are you telling us that the Utah Constitution is, tell us why the plaintiffs are wrong, rather, that the Utah Constitution that has these specific rights delineated for the people, why that shouldn't be given any deference, or why we just simply have to say, well, Dobbs' decision is really what Utah probably would have done or what it should have done. And they've also sort of asked them a lot of questions about why the preliminary injunction is so bad. If we're still going to try to figure out the legalities and the constitutionality of this, why not leave the preliminary injunction in place? And if you take it out of the equation, aren't you causing some permanent and irreparable damage? And the state's attorney said no, in fact, just the opposite. So the state, I thought she made very effective arguments, but boy, the Supreme Court was really asking her a ton of questions.
So let me just backtrack a little bit and see if I can get this straight, Greg. Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, has been listening to the arguments at the Utah Supreme Court right now regarding the pause on Utah's abortion law. And there's been Planned Parenthood and others who have been arguing on behalf of keeping this pause in place have suggested in their lawsuit that there's a constitutionality question with banning a woman from having the right to seek an abortion. And I know that some lawmakers may say, well, we're not banning them, we're allowing them to do it if they've been raped, or we've been allowing to do it if they've been a victim of incest at the hands of a family member, or that they're going to die. But there's some questions about Utah's constitution that are in play here. And can you kind of help us understand what those questions are, Greg?
Yeah, and they're kind of complex, but there are really two. One is Utah's what we call due process rights, which I think everyone agrees gives citizens greater due process protections under the state constitution than they would have for the federal constitution. And so what does that mean for a woman's right to decide what happens with her body? Does that equate to a greater, what we call a due process right? And the other one is an equal protection argument, and really to say that that we're not treating people equally, and that Utah's Constitution intended to provide greater protection, equal protection rights to women than perhaps the federal Constitution did, because as we know, we don't have an equal protection amendment with the federal Constitution, but there is seemingly one that's sort of being argued in the Utah Constitution, and that should provide additional rights also for women to control their own destiny.
Was there an argument made about the equal protection or the rights of the unborn child? Was that made?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in a vague way, and it's also interesting, Dave, that the legislature said, look, if Utah's Constitution ever allowed abortion, let's go back to before Roe versus Wade, when Utah was clear that abortion was not legal here. I mean, Utah had some pretty strict abortion laws, and they're saying, Roe versus Wade changed that, not the Utah Constitution. So if you're looking at the history of what we've done with our Constitution, it seems to be supporting that abortion is illegal in Utah. And so I know I haven't answered your question very well, but they're kind of sidestepping this whole equal as it relates to the child and whatever. They're looking more at just what Utah's Constitution provided, what our founding fathers meant for it to provide for women in situations like this.
And just to be clear, what the justices are being asked to rule on today, well, it won't happen today, has to do with this pause on Utah's abortion law, right?
Exactly. And further, I think the state's also arguing that Planned Parenthood may not even have standing, that maybe they shouldn't, maybe they're not even the right person in court. So, I mean, I don't know that the justices are buying into that. I think they're going to rule on that specific issue that you just stated, Debbie. But their arguments are all over the place. The Supreme Court seems to be very, very interested in really a constitutional history of Utah and where our founding fathers were and what they were deciding and what they were thinking about back in the day.
Greg Skordas, thank you for continuing to follow this. We'll get updates throughout the afternoon. Greg Skordas, KSL legal analyst.
And as he said, Planned Parenthood just now sounds like they're just starting their argument. So I know Jeff Kaplan and his team of reporters, producers following that later in the day. Straight ahead, Pleasant Grove Police Department calling the show about the dangers of golf carts, Dave. We talked about this earlier today. We had a great discussion. A lot of our listeners weighed in as whether golf carts should be legal on Utah roads or they should be banned. We're going to ask the police department what they think next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Before Dave and Debbie get started each day, this station is all news, all morning.
And later today, we follow up on those stories as you drive home.
Get important news all morning and all afternoon.
Here on KSL News Radio.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Hey folks, BeReady.utah.gov has been such an incredible resource for us here at KSL to make sure that we're prepared for all sorts of things, from earthquakes, flooding, but also something that we're expecting here in the next couple of weeks, going back to school. We talked about safety and walking and bus safety and some of the drills and protective actions that schools are taking. Joining me right now is Jeff Johnson, the Be Ready Schools coordinator. And Jeff, can you help us understand what can schools do to take things to the next level for preparedness?
Schools are focused on education, and that's where they should be. That should be their primary. But there should be a mindset in schools, and especially amongst the administration staff, of safety, of preparedness, of readiness to be able to keep those kids safe from anything. One of the things we recommend is that an administration has a established authority protocol of 5 deep. So if this person's hurt or gone or not there, then this person's in charge, and going on and make that at least 5 deep. We have incidents in the state where we've seen that it's all actually fallen outside of that. All 5 people were unavailable for an incident. Wow. So, but I would say schools need to reach outside, and there's all kinds of resources. I was a law enforcement officer for 25 years. We loved it when schools called and said, how can we partner? How can we work with you? So to work with the local fire department, work with local law enforcement is really, really important. But there's a lot of other entities out there. There's the Utah School Board of Education School Safety Center, fantastic resource. Obviously, we're a great resource at beready.utah.gov, and you can go to our website there and even request a training and ask for it. The Utah PTA School Safety Commission is another great resource that will help them get stepping up their readiness.
I think I remember when I was in school, the Red Cross came and taught us first aid.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of community programs and things where people reach out and help.
Yeah, there's school training courses and conferences. They recently had one here in the state. It was a national conference, and it was a 2-day out at the but there's also FEMA school trainings. There's FEMA online independent studies courses. There's CERT training, and we love the Red Cross because they're very school-oriented, and that first aid and basic life support is a great resource for schools.
Jeff Johnson, thank you for joining us. Be Ready Schools Coordinator. Check out all the information at beready.utah.gov.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. In 2017, Evolved MD launched as a solution for the lack of access to mental health care. Today, it is one of the most comprehensive integrators of physical and behavioral health in the United States. Vice President of Strategy and Chief of Staff, Centauri Minor, tells us more.
According to Mental Health America, Utah ranks 46th in the nation for mental health, with Utah adults having higher rates of mental illness and lower rates of access to care compared to the rest of the country. The truth is, the people of Utah are struggling, and at Evolved MD, we are proud to offer a proven solution. Evolved MD's mission is simple: to integrate physical and behavioral health to reduce stigma and increase access to sometimes life-saving services. We partner with some of Utah's most renowned primary care groups and health systems to place licensed therapists and counselors at practices who collaborate with primary care providers for whole patient care. With our model, you can receive therapy right where you go get a checkup, to amazing results. Right now, we are expanding and rapidly hiring in Utah. We are looking for master's level behavioral health clinicians to join our team. You can learn more about our celebrated culture and our impact at evolvedmd.com.
Evolved MD is driving the innovative integration of behavioral health services in modern primary care. To date, they have served tens of thousands of patients and increased access to care to nearly 1 million across the Southwest. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, the Utah Supreme Court hearing arguments today on the state's so-called trigger law on abortion. Right now, a lower court order has stopped enforcement of the law. Second, the U of U and Salt Lake Community College collaborating at a new campus in Harriman, making it easier for students to get an associate degree and move on to a bachelor's. Third, more than 900,000 acres of public land in northern Arizona are included in a new national monument meant to protect sacred tribal lands. Right now, 75 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We've already laid the groundwork that this is not the most important story of the day, but it will be the most talked about and debated story of the day, and that is golf carts on city streets. The reason we're talking about this is because we noticed a number of police departments posting warnings on their Facebook pages or social media, reminding parents that they are not legal on city streets. And in Lehigh, there was these 6 kids that were hurt when their golf cart recently rolled. Apparently, according to the police department, Dave, they took the corner too fast, or whoever was driving did, and there's a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds who were hurt. 3 of them went to the hospital.
Should we be banning golf carts, or are they banned? What are the rules? What are the regulations? Because you may think of a golf cart as what you see on the golf course. That would make sense. Let me just clarify. those things are regulated. You can only go a certain speed. The tires are super wimpy. They're like bald. You can't go very fast. I don't have a ton of traction. But the ones that you're seeing throughout your neighborhood go a little faster. They're juiced up.
You said you saw a photo of the one that rolled in Lehigh, and I know what I did. I did the mom thing immediately. My eyeballs in the photo went to the front seat that it looked like it had been thrown from the golf cart, and your dad eyeballs went to the.
I saw the tires. I'm like,
he did.
Look at those bad boys. Those are better than the ones on my car.
Pleasant Grove Police Department in Utah County as well, also issuing a warning on their social media. Captain Britt Smith of the Pleasant Grove Police Department. Hi, Captain Smith. I can't say Pleasant Grove. Good to have you on the line.
It's great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so settle the score for us here. Are golf carts legal on city streets in Pleasant Grove?
They are not legal in Pleasant Grove. However, the state code does allow for certain municipalities and jurisdictions to adopt an ordinance that would allow them to be legal on their streets. So I'm assuming that there may be a municipality somewhere in the state that has adopted an ordinance that makes it legal there. I would assume that would be probably a fairly predominant golfing community, but that would just be an assumption on my part.
So are we talking in the neighborhood, driving around on those roads, but you have to stay off? I mean, obviously, you're not going to be seeing these things on highways and freeways, but would it be limited to just these community neighborhood roads?
Yeah, certainly a golf cart would be a danger on a freeway or a highway that had a higher rate of speed posted. So the ordinance also states that it has to have clear set parameters, or the state code says the city ordinance has to have clear stated parameters in which they do allow the golf carts. So it would be, only on speed limits of 25 or whatever that city council had decided to set the parameters at.
So, but you're that. So I'm a little confused. You're talking about what if other cities have it. It's legal in other cities, but in your city, it is not legal to have a golf cart on roads, right? No matter what age you are. Okay. So
right.
Okay.
It's completely illegal to have a golf cart on the city streets, and I am not aware of a municipality that has legalized it. So to my knowledge, it's fairly broad across the state that they're illegal.
I just want to get this. So what are you seeing on your city streets there in Pleasant Grove that had your department issuing this alert and this warning on social media about golf carts?
Well, they're younger kids, and I would say anywhere from as young as 8 to 12, 13, 14 years old. We're not seeing kids that have a license to drive that are 16 years or older. Those kids are just hopping in the car and they're driving to their friend's house, and they're using a car for transportation. So it's these kids, these younger kids, they're driving their golf carts to their friend's house, and they're picking up little Johnny and all of their buddies, and there's 5, 6, 7 of these kids, and they all how kids get when they get together as a group and they start driving recklessly and doing all kinds of crazy things on the road. We see them out late at night. These it's way past dark. These golf carts aren't equipped with headlights. They don't have brake lights. They don't have turn signals. And it's just a really dangerous situation. And these kids are vulnerable in those smaller vehicles, especially when they can't be seen at night. If they're, driving through stop signs without stopping, we just are really concerned that somebody's going to get hurt.
Captain Britt Smith, thank you for joining us from Pleasant Grove Police Department.
And thank you for making an argument for me to ban these things on city streets. And for those people who texted in and said, "Hey, Deb, loosen up. This isn't a big deal." These golf carts, you just heard the captain of Pleasant Grove PD say, they're not equipped with lights. They don't have the same kind of equipment that cars have. Kids are running stop signs with them. And they're going out at night with them. So this is all kinds of dangerous.
Yeah, I think the problem here is we're trying to compare these golf carts to cars. And I see them much more like a bike, a scooter, those things don't have lights. They don't have
I don't want an
brake
8-year-old
lights.
behind the wheel of a golf cart, even on a golf cart,
Well,
let alone
I would
on a
argue-
city street. That's what
I
you
would
just
argue
said.
that a golf cart is far safer than some of the scooters that are out there right now. Debbie, let me tell you about the Wolf King GT. Top speed 62 miles per hour. That's only a $3,000 scooter. Now, that's an expensive scooter, but it goes 62 miles an hour. You literally could keep up with traffic on the freeway, is how powerful those things are. And we don't have bans and regulations on those things.
I don't understand those parents who want to accept the liability, the financial responsibility of putting an 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old, 13-year-old behind the wheel of a golf cart to pack in 7 or 8 kids, 6 kids, however the number may be, who have absolutely no experience driving in traffic, and in some cases it's 30, 40, 50-mile-an-hour traffic at night. Why would you want that kind of responsibility for other
would
kids'
not.
safety? Exactly. When you
I
put it
I
like
would
that,
not.
it's like,
I don't know if I'd make a law against it.
oh, so it's up to the parents.
I don't want my kids riding with their friends sitting on their handlebars either. I don't know if we make it illegal.
Maria up next with more coverage on what's being argued today before the Utah Supreme Court on Utah's abortion law that has not, the new law that hasn't taken effect yet because it is still on pause.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Utah's Noon News. I'm Maria Shaleos. Sunny skies in downtown Salt Lake City and a very pleasant 75 degrees. KSL's top story this hour. Arguments are underway at the Utah Supreme Court in a case over abortion rights in Utah. At issue is the state's so-called trigger law, which effectively bans most abortions after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. KSL News Radio's Lindsay Ertz is at the court with a look at the action so far.
So far, there's been about 2 hours just of the state's arguments. There's a lot to discuss here. The state making some arguments about the specificity of Utah's Constitution, that the text does not talk about the right to an abortion, and that specifically the argument should be applied to that specificity. The text does not allude to the right to an abortion.
The court just took a break. The other side is expected to take a couple of hours to lay out its case this afternoon. KSL legal analyst Greg Skorda says we likely won't know how Utah's justices will rule for some time to come.
I mean, I think we'll learn the way the wind is blowing. We'll learn where the judges are interested and what their questions are. But their ultimate decision, Amanda, will probably come in the next few weeks or maybe months.
Again, KSL News Radio's Lindsay Ertz is at today's hearing. She will have a full report coming up on Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. KSL's top national stories. Abortion is a hot topic in Ohio today, where voters are casting ballots in a special election with high interest.
State officials say turnout in Ohio's special election has been unusually high. Nearly 700,000 residents voted early before polls officially opened this morning. That's almost 5 times the number of ballots cast a year ago in the state's August primaries, and it far outpaces turnout for Ohio's May election. Polls close tonight at 7:30. Ann Flaherty, ABC News, Washington.
Other national stories KSL is following this hour. President Biden is in Arizona today preparing to declare a new national monument outside of Grand Canyon National Park.
This new national monument includes 3 sites covering more than 900,000 acres of public land surrounding the Grand Canyon in Arizona. The White House says that the site, called the Ancestral Footprints of Grand Canyon National Monument, will preserve thousands of cultural sites sacred to tribal nations, and it will permanently prevent the mining of uranium on the land.
That is ABC's Elizabeth Schulze reporting. President Biden is coming to Utah tomorrow, and his trip will focus heavily on veterans. The president's marquee event for the visit is a Thursday speech he will deliver on the 1-year anniversary of the PACT Act. Here he is celebrating its passage last year.
This law is long overdue, but we finally got it done together. And I don't want to hear the press tell me Democrats and Republicans can't work together.
The law gives more benefits to veterans who were exposed to burn pits. The president will be stopping in Park City after the speech for a fundraiser. The Biden administration is announcing new plans to shore up cybersecurity in the nation's schools today. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona told a room full of educators it's going to take planning from all stakeholders involved to keep schools safe.
We need to be proactive about this. We need to get the best thinking from all over the country. Be proactive, not wait for emergencies to happen, to make sure we have a plan.
First Lady Jill Biden says the White House plans to work with local governments and private companies to get the job done. That effort gets a $20 million boost from Amazon Web Services, with that money earmarked to help K through 12 schools with training and resources in case of an attack. Teachers say they are feeling a mix of hope and worry as they get ready to head into the new school year. KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston has details.
Renee Pinckney of the Utah Education Association says teachers are approaching this new year with hope.
This year will be better than last, and I know that last year was better than the year before.
However, President Pinckney acknowledges that educators are going in with stressors that weren't as bad before the pandemic.
Some of the behaviors that teachers are seeing and counselors are seeing are just, they're different and they're more extreme, and that just creates a lot of stress.
She says Utah keeps only about half of its new teachers after the first 5 years. Peter Johnston, KSL News Radio.
Across Utah County, police are urging parents to keep their children from driving golf carts on the streets. KSL TV's Lauren Steinbrecher met with Police Captain Britt Smith in Pleasant Grove.
We have been making traffic stops.
Young teens and kids driving golf carts on roads and misbehaving while they do it.
Oftentimes it's 4, 5, 6 juveniles hanging off of the golf cart while they're going down the roadway. Lehigh did have an accident that was fairly severe with serious injuries.
Lehigh PD saying 6 kids around 12, 13 years old rolled in a golf cart and 3 of the kids were hospitalized.
We also have no desire to see kids hurt or killed.
Police say that driving golf carts on streets is not only dangerous, but it's also illegal. First Look Traffic, Ricky Meese, good afternoon. What's going on?
Good afternoon. We do have a crash in Salt Lake City. 4 vehicles originally involved 7th East, 1300 South. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:05.
Boyd Matheson helps you to think about the news differently.
President Joe Biden will visit the Beehive State. Will this be a campaign stop that's pretty controlled?
Join an elevated conversation. Inside Sources from 1 to 3. Then Jeff Kaplan and his Minute of News on the drive home on KSL News Radio.
Well, hello, summer. Adventure here. Spring had to leave, but said you're really outgoing, that you're quite a character. Maybe you'll appreciate a place packed full of character and live performances, like the Shakespeare Festival at Cedar City. Unlike spring, you seem a bit more bright and open. Interested in camping under a blanket of stars? Well, all signs point to Cedar City's spectacular campsites on Cedar Mountain. Summer, it's great to finally meet you, because winter just might have overstayed the welcome. You seem content now that you're here. I'd love to spend more time with you. How about a walk? Better yet, a hike, so I can show you Twisted Forest and Spring Creek. Summer and adventure, we're perfect together, just like Cedar City's arts and museums, or downtown shopping and fine dining. Summer, adventure asking, stay a few months, let's heat things up, in a spot we'll truly enjoy. Cedar City, Bryan Head.
You've been following my soda weight loss journey for almost 20 months now. I lost 37 pounds in the first 12 weeks. Amazing, feel different, look different, able to act different. And all of it came through just the power and simplicity of SOTA. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss, because it is. You've got that weekly one-on-one coaching that I love to talk about, that accountability piece. And not just accountability, but insight. When you have a question, you're not sure, you're hesitating, you just text, you just call. You have access to your own nutritionist to keep you right on pace and keep everything going. It's also a whole 100% 360-degree look at how you approach nutrition. Getting your body the right energy, the right nutrients at the right time does make all the difference, and it's part of what makes SOTA so successful, not just for me, but for countless other people. As I said, I'm 20 months down the road, right on path, right where I've been for almost 20 months now. Same thing can happen for you. As I always say, when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose. There's only time to win. So get winning. Start with SOTA weight loss today. Check it out at SOTAweightloss.com, SOTA weightloss.com.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for Utah's Noon News, recapping our top local story this hour. Arguments continue this hour with Utah Supreme Court in a case challenging whether the state constitution guarantees the right to an abortion. KSL News Time 12:08. More trouble could be in store for travelers today after severe weather on the East Coast delayed or canceled thousands of flights nationwide yesterday. ABC's Trevor Alt has more from New York's LaGuardia Airport.
At one point, there were ground stops in effect at the same time in Charlotte, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. And then the evening storms caused problems in Florida, in Miami, out to Memphis, even into Dallas, and as far west as Denver, too.
FlightAware reported 150 delays at Salt Lake's airport yesterday with 19 cancellations. So far today, we've seen 7 canceled flights and 46 delayed. Health officials and parents in Utah County are sounding the alarm about an outbreak of E. coli cases. One victim is 3-year-old Avery Allen from Lehigh. Her parents, Jacob and Brianna, are urging everyone to be careful around irrigation water in hoses or sprinklers.
We went swimming. We've been to various restaurants in Lehigh. Our daughter had been out playing in sprinklers.
Stay away from sprinklers or hose water, wash hands after meals, and just be safe.
Avery is one of 5 people who've been hospitalized with E. coli in Lehigh. Utah Department of Health is warning that anyone can become infected. Swimming in a popular pond in Highland, Utah could be making people sick. Officials say recent tests for E. coli at the Highland Glen Reservoir came back higher than the Department of Health standards. KSL crews at the scene saw dozens of people swimming in the water, even with a posted warning. A lot more Americans may own guns than previously thought. KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff has the results of a new study.
Previous studies have put U.S. gun ownership at about 30%, but new research from the New Jersey Gun Violence Research Center puts that number at 40 to 60%. The study blames the inaccuracy on people lying about their ownership of a gun.
I can see why gun owners would be reluctant, even though it's probably an anonymous survey, reluctant to admit for the fear that somehow their name might be connected to their ownership of a firearm.
Utah Shooting Sports Council President Clark Aposian thinks some of that reluctance comes from what he calls the demonization of gun owners. Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. And Ricky had an accident last go-around. Let's get an update, Ricky.
Right now, I'm looking at a live shot of the intersection of 700 East and 1300 South. Fire crews are still on the scene, so we're seeing that this multiple vehicle crash, about 4 vehicles total, are being cleared at that intersection. But you can get through. You just need to be a little bit careful. We also may have trouble in traffic getting some scanner chatter of eastbound I-80 near 2300 East. I've been looking through those traffic cameras and not seeing any kind of problem. And so far, traffic seems to be moving just fine through that area as well as the rest of your Salt Lake County freeways. When it comes to trusted, affordable auto care, nobody does it better than Burt Brothers Tire and Service. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A weak low pressure system passing by to our north is allowing for some showers this morning, but by mid-morning we're already clearing out. Temperatures will top out in the low 80s with partly cloudy skies. Overnight lows, low 60s, some of us dipping into the upper 50s. By tomorrow afternoon, sun and clouds, 91. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And right now it's sunny and 77 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. Coming up on Utah's Noon News, we'll take a look at the new national monument President Biden will unveil today just south of the Utah state line. This is KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM, your all-day companion for news.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or disfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted, speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com. Today only, Zero Res is opening up their $25 special. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and you'll pay just $25 per room. There is nothing better than being out and about with a family, except maybe coming home to a clean and residue-free home. The Zero Res cleaning process has been proven to remove more dirt, more dust, and more allergens than the other guys. Plus, the no residue cleaning means your carpets will stay cleaner longer. Today only, schedule your Zero Res carpet cleaning and pay just $25 per room cleaned. Full room minimum, but there are no maximums. So yes, even really big families with big homes, this one's for you too. Carpet cleaning for just $25 per room. Only a Zero Res carpet and air duct cleaning. I'm sure it's been on your mind. Schedule today and save money while you're at it. The sale ends today. Nephi to Ogden. Everyone can schedule online at zerorez.com. ZEROREZ.com.
The name's Osborne, Josh Osborne, and I'm so excited to announce our 00 summer sale here at Volkswagen Southtown.
Summers are for thrills, chills, and hot deals. Get a new high-tech VW for nothing down and no payments for 90 days. Our 00 agents are standing by to make sure you pay nothing down and have no payments for 3 months, so you can achieve your top secret mission this summer.
Come see why we're Utah's #1 Volkswagen dealer. Get to VWSouthtown.com.
2022 VW rankings. Financing through VCI on select models OAC. See dealer for details.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
KSL News Time 12:15. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
Utah's Supreme Court is hearing arguments today over whether the abortion trigger ban should stay on hold. This is the law that bans all abortions except for some specific circumstances. I'm KSL News Radio's Lindsay Ayers.
Second, one person is dead after an accident in Salt Lake City this morning. Police tell us the victim was apparently asleep outside a garage door when a driver exited and struck them. Third, traffic and weather together, Ricky.
Valley Freeway traffic rolling along and looking good. And we do have the final cleanup of the crash at the intersection of 1300 South and 7th East. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Chance for an AM shower, then clearing. Look for a high of 82. I'm Matt Johnson.
Sunny, 77 degrees downtown. Time for KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Poll officials show voter turnout in Ohio is up compared to other special election years. Voters are deciding whether to lower the threshold needed to change the state's constitution. That outcome could affect a measure later this fall on abortion access. ABC political director Rick Klein says it's drawing attention beyond state lines.
There's a lot of outside money and a lot of outside influence, in part because it's kind of the only action on abortion rights in an off-year election. We're between the midterm elections and next year's presidential election, in part because it's Ohio, which has a history of being a battleground state, even though it's trended more to the redder side, and as its policies haven't always caught up with its politics. And I think that's one result we're seeing today. Is
Authorities in Alabama will hold a briefing this hour related to the brawl on Montgomery Riverfront Saturday, and there could be arrests. The incident, caught on video, shows a black crew member attacked after he tried to move a pontoon boat that was being used by a group of white men that was docked. The worker was trying to make room for a large riverboat. ABC's Andrea Fujii says it escalated from there.
The fight turning into a full-on melee. The violence escalating. One man was detained after using a chair as a weapon. According to Montgomery's mayor, officers detained several reckless individuals for attacking a man who was doing his job.
Nearly 350,000 customers still without power across states hit by volatile storms Monday. The Mid-Atlantic makes up the bulk of those outages. Baltimore Gas and Electric Company CEO Kareem Kazami says crews are working nonstop, but it could take another few days for many households to be up and running.
We do expect to have 80% of our customers restored by this evening, 90% by tomorrow evening, and we will continue to work until every customer is restored.
Severe storms also throwing a snag into travel plans. More than 1,200 cancellations so far today at area airports, and the storm is being blamed for at least 2 deaths. You're listening to ABC News.
Time for the KSL In-Depth. President Biden is in Arizona today to designate a new national monument covering more than 900,000 acres between the Grand Canyon and the Utah state line. In English, it's called the Ancestral Footprints Grand Canyon National Monument. The actual name comes from a combination of two different Indian languages. Arizona Representative Raul Grijalva, says President Biden's announcement will be crucial to protecting the surrounding areas.
There will never be any more uranium mining in the monument area, thus protecting the Grand Canyon, and thus finally respecting and acknowledging that the tribal communities have been right all along.
12 different tribal groups support the designation of the new monument, which they say will protect ancestral homelands and resources. Opponents of the designation say it ties up federal lands that belong to all American people. Regardless of where you stand on the issue, the monument will be massive, nearly 1 million acres, according to National Climate Advisor Ali Zaidi. It will include 300 cultural sites.
They tell a rich and important history, and it's the reason why 12 tribes stepped up to request that this monument be declared. The president is going to take action to do just that.
The president is also expected to tout his administration's investments in clean energy and climate conservation. KSL News Time, 12:19. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. And here's Ricky Meese.
I think crews have really made a big impact on getting the crash cleared at 7th East and 1300 South. But we do have some new issues. A new accident in Weber County southbound. This is 1900 West Riverdale Road. It's to the right, but blocking that right lane. You can get around it okay. And then we also have an accident in the Little Cottonwood Canyon area. Now, for those who are going to be traveling this, it's near the what the canyons call the Upper Vault area, and it's about 6 miles from the mouth of Little Cottonwood Canyon. Right now, I'm not seeing any traffic getting through, but I also don't have the camera coverage to see if there are a lot of delays. If you're going to be traveling up and down Little Cottonwood Canyon, just be aware they could be working on that crash. Renew your smile with Grandpa's Dental. Grandpa's Dental offers cosmetic and routine dentistry. Visit grandpasdental.com for a location near you. That's grandpasdental.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast. How about a high in the low 80s today? Partly cloudy skies. For tomorrow, 91, partly cloudy. We go 92, mostly sunny on Thursday. How about 91 on Friday with a chance for storms? We keep afternoon thunderstorm chances on Saturday, 90. Keeping Sunday dry, partly cloudy. We're back to 92 on Monday with a chance for storms. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Sunny and 75 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. And 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. Checking the markets, the Dow on taking back yesterday's gains. A complete update of your money news coming up next.
It takes a lot of patience to be an investor these days. Record high inflation, layoffs, record high debt leading to debt ceiling talks. But in the meantime, the market is looking ahead, reacting to what could happen next. You don't have to do this alone. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, telling you to take advantage of the high interest rates while they're here. Regardless of what's going on in the world, there are winners and there are losers when it comes to what you put your money into now. Because of the high interest rates, you may qualify for an upfront bonus of up to 25% just for opening an account and guaranteed growth of up to 10% for your retirement income. This exists because of the high interest rates. Don't leave your money sitting in the bank earning nothing, or leave that 401k constantly fluctuating. Roll it over and open an account with Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600 or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Smart, connected, modern. Discover life-enhancing independent living services at Trio Orem. Joy isn't just for the young, it's for the young at heart. Trio signature programs provide a unique approach to wellness, bringing living well and well-being to life. Trio is reimagining retirement to deliver delight in every detail. To learn more, contact Trio Orem at 801-434-8000 or visit treeorem.com.
Is using separate office technology like business telephones, chat, video conferencing, and file transferring complicated and pricey? What if all of those things were bundled into one simple product that has over 99.9% uptime, crystal clear quality, and is affordable? And what if you could get your business telephone bundle from a proven office technology partner like Les Olson IT? You can.